Good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday. I got a chat full of people already. Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to HOKC Live. So we got Happy Cappy. What's up? Oh, no. My mic. I didn't put my mic in front of me. I was getting everything else set up. I got the movie set up. I got everything else set up. Everybody hear me? We good? Good to see everybody is what I was saying, though. So got everything rolling so far. Sorry, I had everything. I got like the movie, everything else set up. I got my little book here. And I forgot to right on. Good, happy. Thank you. Got everything else but the microphone, and we need the microphone. So Happy Cappy, Billy Bob Bride, Terry R. Got the regulars rolling in already. Good to see y'all. Thanks for stopping by. Terry R., this is your movie night. Yes, brought to you by Mr. Nick Sweeney. I just got a fresh pot of coffee going, so we're all set. And, like always, we'll go over what we're going to cover, but we'll let everybody kind of pile in here. Shibon Tiger, howdy from Round Rock. What's up, man? Glad you made it. I'm not too far from Round Rock. Best donuts in Texas, in my opinion. If you've never been to Round Rock Donuts, do yourself a favor. They have ones that they cut out with a 5-gallon bucket, and they don't lose any flavor. They're fantastic. Pet Detectives, good to see you. Looking forward to the movie. Yeah, this will be a good one. And we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the Comancheros, kind of their founding, their purpose, their very individualistic culture. That way you have some idea of what the movie's about. And then we'll dive into the movie. Not terribly long, but we'll give you a nice little prepper. Shibon Tiger says, yeah, Round Rock Donuts. You know. And nothing goes better with a good donut than a cup of coffee fresh out of our HOKC official mug. So keep an eye out for that coming hopefully next week. We want to get them out before Christmas. That's the big idea. Let's see. Okay, yeah, everybody hears me fine, so we're off and rolling. Hope everybody's had a good Sunday so far. Let me actually post the link to the movie. So I got a little confused on the movie list, and maybe we can blame this on Nick Sweeney because he's not here yet. But this movie is not yet free on YouTube officially. Okay. So it's on sale right now. It's $3.79 to rent it. If you don't want to rent it, totally understand. You can watch along with us. And if you've never done a watch party, I got to grab my headphones over there. If you've never done a watch party with us, though, what we do is I watch the movie, y'all watch the movie at the same time, and we kind of do a historical examination of it and poke a little fun at it and see what we think at the end, whether it deserves a HOKC seal of approval or not. Surrender Monkey says, I am runk and full of food, so probably going to fall asleep, but I will leave it on while napping. No problem. Glad you made it anyway, Surrender Monkey. You're in the, you showed up exactly how we needed you. Arizona boy, howdy, y'all. Won't be able to stay long on a hot date with the wife. Good, man. We wouldn't want to pull you away from that, but glad you made it. And the post will be up, so you can catch it anytime. Let's see. Did you get your second video up yet, Arizona boy? I didn't get a chance to check yet. Papa Hyman, what's up? Papa, you hot bro. Wow, man. I feel like Mo Sizlak right now. You got me with the name. I like your history. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Papa. Bama Deanna, enjoy the time you had together, Arizona boy. I miss my husband so much. That's true for all of us, Bama Deanna. Good lesson. Speaking from experience for sure. But we're glad you made it here, Bama Deanna. I don't know if anybody, I'm going to post a poll too. How many people have seen the Comancheros? Because I have seen this movie, but it's been probably 20, 25 years since I've seen it. So have you seen the Comancheros? I guess I misspelled that. Let's see here. Comancheros. It's a 1961 film. It's got John Wayne in it. It's got, who's the other guy? Sorry. Ina Boleyn is in it. Who else, though? Lee Marvin is in it briefly. I saw that. Our boy Lee Marvin from the classic, highly underrated Paint Your Wagon that we watched last week. I'm telling you guys, was that not a good movie? I thought that was amazing. That was a great movie. And I thought it was going to suck, to be honest. I've got the Comancheros up free. Did you find it on free on YouTube? Happy Cappy? It might be on, I can't like officially recommend it, but it might be free on YouTube. The one I have to use is the rental one. But at least if you go the rental route, it is on sale. But Happy Cappy might be right. Okay, you did. So it apparently exists. I guess I just can't officially endorse you going and finding it, but you know. So yeah, when you do have your own copy, we'll give it another 5 minutes here before we jump into the main topic. I'll give you a heads up. We'll start it at 3, 2, 1, and then we'll watch it all the way through. We'll try not to stop it. I don't think we've stopped it at all. That keeps everything rolling along, so we're all on the same time clock. But other than that, it's a nice opportunity to enjoy a movie and learn a little bit about it and all hang out together. So that's fun. Been many moons ago, says Terry R., but yes, I've seen it. It's been many moons for me too. Those that study history know the future, says Papa. At least they have an idea of what's coming, like you can kind of paint a rough picture, like a Monet. Can't really paint I don't know, Da Vinci of it. Let's see. The second video. Oh, the second video is live on Arizona Boys channel. Arizona Boy. I had it memorized before I went live, and now I'm blanking on it. Uh, Hit me with the name of the channel again. Next of Us, bro. I swear I had it memorized before I came on, and I was going to talk about it, and now I'm blanking on it. Let's see. But Arizona Boy, our boy in the chat here, has a good channel he just started, so we got to go support him too. I have seen it come up on free on YouTube, says Bambi. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I guess I wasted my my $4, but it's a tax write-off, so screw it. The golf cart shop, bro. You trying to catch me, bro? It's early on a Sunday night, but it's not that early. Let's see. I've been wanting to see John Wayne movie. It's been a long time. Yeah, this will be a good one. This is a cool story. It's a Texas Ranger whose partner was unalived, and he has to return the fugitive to justice in Louisiana, which we'll have to watch the movie. I'm unclear why he has to return him to Louisiana. Either way, John Wayne goes, catches the bad guy out on the frontier, and then they have to deal with the Comancheros. And the Comancheros, if y'all don't know, we probably have some rough idea, our regulars do, of what the Comancheros are, but they were essentially a society unto themselves. They were a mix of both, a bunch of worlds. They were a mix of the old Spain world. They were a mix of the Mexico world, the New Mexico world, the tribal world, and they kind of existed in this perpetual limbo. But they were great businessmen, and they obviously left a lasting legacy on the plains. If you've ever been out to these areas, like what is known as Comancheria, northeastern New Mexico, and West Texas, it's so desolate out there. It's terrible to drive. So I've always imagined being a Comanchero is one of the most terrifying pursuits there is, because they're going out and they're trading with these tribes, and the agreements of peace are only conditional and highly tacit. Like they can vary with different bands of the tribe. Like they're known as Comancheros. Long story short, because they did a lot of dealing with the Comanche tribes, but they are Comanche tribe and with the bands within those tribes. But they dealt with the Cheyenne, the Apache, the Arapaho, the Kiowa. So they had a big range. They operated from, like I said, northwestern New Mexico to almost eastern Oklahoma down to the Fort Davis Mountains in southwestern Texas. So it is a huge, huge range of operations. And everyone remarks on how unique they looked and how their cultural practices were different from everyone else. And there was a lot of suspicion and conspiracy surrounding their existence, especially as it got later on into the 19th century. So we're going to do a quick little primer on that, and then we'll jump into the movie and have a good time. Nice Sunday night. Let's see. Am I missing anything other than Golf Shop trying to catch me in the chat? Let's see. Dan Robertson, Comancheros might require their own field of study. Fascinating trading explorers. They very much do. That's why I was like, this is going to be a primer. This is not an expert explanation of the Comancheros, because it really is its whole own thing. You would have to like specialize in Comanchero history to give a illustrative accounting of it. But it's a very, very interesting culture. I think it makes for an interesting movie. It's an interesting plot, and it just shines a light on this, like I said, very shady, which I mean like in an almost literal sense, corner of history that people know the name, but they don't know much about the Comancheros. Folks, '07 says engineer. What's up, engineer? Louisiana Gray, I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. We're almost, yeah, we're 10 minutes in. So we'll jump into the little explanation I've got here, and then we'll jump into the movie. So I've sourced everything from this one book, basically. I did a little internet research, but this is a really good one. The Comanchero Frontier, A History of New Mexican Plains Indian Relations by Charles L. Kenner. I got the movie link at the top of the chat now, but before the night's over, I'll post a link to this book. It's a really good book. I've enjoyed it. Let's see. Dan, oh, a $2 super chat from Terry R. Hit the like button. Oh, wow. So super chat to tell everybody else to hit the like button. You are a real one, Terry R. We thank you very much. And this movie tonight is Terry R's pick. So yeah, we got 25 people here though, and only 13 likes. So make sure if you're in here, you don't have to send a super chat, but you do have to hit the like button, or we would very much like if you do. All right. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, a salute. I get it. Okay. Is a salute like an 8 on a 0 gonna diet? I gotcha. And like Dan Robertson's joke from yesterday, what did the zeros say to the 8? Nice spell. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of pull up exactly what I've got lined out in the book here. The Comancheros themselves seem to have kind of coalesced and started their initial iterations in the late 18th century. They were probably operating before that, but that's when they start seeming to come into the history books. They are Spanish citizens, really, at the time, who live in the very edge of New Spain, and there are very few economic prospects. And so they begin to venture out onto the high plains in New Mexico and Texas and taking out goods to sell. At first, they take them out in ox carts, they would load up a wooden wheeled ox cart with cornmeal, flour, dried fruits. They would bake tons of bread and take it out to the Comanche because this bread was supposed to be like really good and everybody liked it. Everybody, even decades on, comments on how tasty it is. So they take all this bread out there. Early on, even Kenner makes the explicit point to say that until kind of mid 19th century, they didn't trade as many firearms as people think. Even in the Comancheros movie, they're portrayed as gun runners, and that's not true. But that's not how it started. Really, until the 1840s, they were purchasing more firearms from the Comanche than they were selling. So it wasn't until American traders started coming out and the plains became more proliferated with firearms that they were actually kind of able to start doing essentially gun running. They were really kind of merchant traders at first, and they existed in a place that nobody else would. Like, it wasn't that people couldn't go out there, they just wouldn't do it because it was just like a for sure capital punishment if you went out there. But they started to kind of tacitly venture out on the plains and make alliances with different bands because it was like, look, we don't want to take your land, we just want to offer you these goods that would help make your life easier, and then we're going to go back to our place and we'll leave each other alone. And it kind of hinges on, well, there's no reason that the Comanche or the tribes that they're dealing with shouldn't just unalive all of them and take all their stuff as they normally would in this situation and just leave it at that. Other than they need them to come back. If they really like their goods, then they don't want to unalive them because they won't make a return trip. So this kind of uneasy alliance or this uneasy truce begins at first in like I said, late 18th century, and it progresses to where it's like the Comancheros are covering a wide breadth of an area. They're dealing with lots of tribes, and they're also dealing with Spanish and Mexican people in the area and Anglos who would come through the area. They would deal with the U.S. Army eventually. That they're, just merchants. They have no ultimate plan other than to make a living. It doesn't seem like they come into the American consciousness, and this is a rough estimate, but it seems like the 1840s before we start to see any mention of them in American documents. And then it's just kind of that they call them Mexican roads or old Mexican cart roads, where it's, tracks from the wagon wheels, the big wooden wagon wheels that are kind of leading all down the Red River and all through New Mexico. And they're like, well, we don't know we didn't even really know there's people living out here. And they end up finding out kind of this arrangement that they've got going on. Then the first accounts of seeing the Comancheros are just like, I guess almost like, I don't know, like describing people at Woodstock or something, like someone from the Greatest Generation describing hippies at Woodstock or something. And I just mean that in the sense of like they're describing people in garb that they don't know how to describe and in combinations that they don't have any context for. So it's like it'll be one guy with like moccasins and a long johns, such like long underwear and a sombrero, and another guy with like feathers in his hair and a headband and a serape. And then the women might be wearing like buckskin dresses or and some combination of linen or something. It's just like this very mishmash culture, and they weren't sure what to make of it. And it was still Catholic, so that confused them even more. And it was just kind of its own entity out on the New Mexico Texas frontier, and they didn't understand it. It kind of weirded them out. Eventually, they did some dealing with them, but the Comancheros, as the 19th century progressed, began dealing more in whiskey running because it was, well, whatever's profitable, right? So they're still taking out dry goods, baked breads, molasses, cornmeal, flour, all kinds of stuff. They were mestizos, says Houston Blast. Yes, they were mestizos. They're mixed race, and they would become more and more mixed race. Like they would have mixed race mestizo with Comanche, which, you know, like, so there were intertribal, interracial marriages at that time, and relationships weren't unheard of. They weren't necessarily the norm on the frontier, but yeah, they would happen all the time. So you just got this, from the American point of view, kind of more and more convoluted bloodline, and it made them not even uneasy, just very unsure who they were dealing with, whether they were dealing with a native tribe people or Mexican citizens, basically. And this mix, they didn't really understand how to deal with at first. But they were in the business of making money, and they were really good at it. And they're not dissimilar from the Comanche in that their appearance always seemed kind of haphazard. Like they were saying, their dress seemed kind of thrown together. They seemed like a rather ad hoc organization in a lot of ways, but they were super wealthy, they were amazing businessmen and super entrepreneurial. Ulrich Trent, 6 pounds super chat. I think that's what that is. I love your videos, especially the Mountain Men ones. Would love to see a video on the Tonkawa tribe. Greetings and blessings from Germany. Well, thank you very much. I think that's a German pound. Thank you very much, Ulrich. You're our first German contributor on the chat. We did a little bit on the Tonkawa yesterday, but I'll tell you what, I will write that down because we've talked about the Tonkawa quite a bit, and we need to do an in-depth deep dive on them. Okay. And everybody's hearing me. What's up, Mojo? Let's see. Make sure I'm not missing anybody in the chat. Dan Robertson says, I think Comancheros weren't exclusively Mexican either. Exactly. No, it was more of a role job that Pueblo Mexican and others did, maybe even Anglo settlers. I haven't heard of any Anglo settlers with them yet, but yeah, it was a role. It was like that it kind of evolved into its own culture. So like not really that different from cowboys or oil rig workers, right? Like it's this task that has to be done, and it's kind of its own culture evolves around it. And they're just super geographically isolated, and they became more and more isolated, you know, the farther out they went. But they started off very humbly, just kind of taking carts around. And by the mid 19th century, they were an economic power. They were a big threat. The United States saw them more and more as a threat for kind of good reason, because the tables had turned on their trade with the Comanche with firearms. They were able to acquire more firearms and sell them to the Comanche. So they were supplying Plains tribes from the Cheyenne to the Comanche with firearms. And then the Comanche were stealing horses stealing horses and cattle that they would then take to the Comancheros, sell to the Comancheros. The Comancheros would take them and sell them to U.S. Army contractors. So you had this big like ring going, right? And people started getting more and more suspicious and more and less tolerant of the trade, more and more thinking it was more and more nefarious operation. So you started to see a lot more crackdown, and it seems like they kind of disbanded. There's no formal date, but they kind of disbanded in the late 1800s. Let me see if I'm missing anything in the actual book, because there were some really good quotes in here. There's a couple that, oh yeah. So they were bringing at first they were bringing the Indians sugar, saddlery, dried pumpkins, onion, tobacco, barley meal, and dried goods, and also manufactured items. So hardware, cloth, and let's see, hardware and cloth, right? And then they became gun runners kind of post 1848, seems like. And then from there, we have a Cheyenne account that this is a really interesting one. If you pick up the book, it's on page 86. But they talk about them. I was trying to find the exact quote here. It says, okay, so they talk about them, how much excitement would be at the native villages when they were waiting for the Comancheros to kind of make their rounds to them, and how much the place would just like light up when the Comancheros came in, because they're like, well, they're going to have all the good stuff that we need to trade for. So this is a Cheyenne account of the Comancheros coming to their village. All the women jumped out of bed, got together the things that they had to trade, and rushed off in the direction of the Comancheros' voice. When they got outside the circle of the camp, they looked around. Oh, sorry. When they got outside the circle of the camp, they looked around them and didn't see anyone. Then, from behind them, on one side of the camp, came a shout, "The Mexicans are here, and they have plenty of good things to trade." At once, sorry, I'm mixing this up. The cry was sounded in all directions. "This is where the Mexicans are. Come this way." Oh, they must have much, and Little Hawk is excited to trade. That's like the dude in Comanche, or in the Cheyenne camp. So everyone's like super fired up. They're like, our boys are here. This is great. We're going to get all of our stuff. We're going to have a party with them. So it turned into this, over the decades, turned into this regular thing that, to me, if you ever had like a Schwann's guy growing up, like the food delivery guys that would bring like frozen cinnamon rolls and stuff, it's kind of like that. Everyone's just like, guys, this is going to be great. Comancheros are here. We've been running out of food stuff. We've been running out of bread. We, running out of ammunition or whatever. So our boys are here to resupply us. So just an integral part of Plains culture. The Army saw it more and more as a threat. It kind of did devolve into more and more illicit activities, because whiskey running was a big problem too. They were trying to keep whiskey out of the U.S. Army, specifically was trying to keep whiskey out of the Plains tribes' hands, and the Plains tribes really wanted it. So the Comancheros were a pragmatic intermediator in that. I don't kind of guys. Let me be real, like kind of like a proto cartel in that regard. Like, I don't even mean that as an insult, but that's kind of how this was operating. Just like, well, there's a need and we're filling it, But yeah, so that's a general summation of like the time period, how the culture kind of worked, how the tribes would be this relationship had built over less than a century of one of enmity and combativeness between any encroachment onto the plains, and between any Mexican or Anglo encroachment onto the plains and the native tribes. That had morphed with the Comancheros into this like incredibly important kinship, this incredibly important codependent relationship between the two. And then it kind of faded away all within a little more than a century. But something that's left, the name Comanchero is still well known in Old West history circles, but a lot of people just don't really know what that means. So hopefully we gave you a starter for that. Like I said, couldn't recommend this book enough. It's not even that thick, but it's got tons of stuff in it. Comanchero Frontier, A History of the New Mexican Plains, Indian Retaliations. Why do I get so much glare on it? Charles L. Kenner. Like I said, before the night's out, I will put a link to that up. Let me check the chat real quick before we jump into it. And if you're going to watch along with us, make sure you have your own copy of the Comancheros pulled up. If you want the rental copy, the legal way to do it is at the top of the chat. I pinned it there. You can rent it for, I think it's $3.79. It's on sale right now. Let's see. Oh boy, okay. There were no giant buildings in this part of Texas. Rockport has thousands of years worth of shell middlings, though. Not sure, engineer. Well, yeah, I wasn't saying there was a bunch of buildings or anything. Bless up, says Mojo. What's up, Mojo? Maybe I'm missing a conversation there, an engineer. Let's see. Was Deef Smith the Comanchero? That's a good question. I haven't heard that name in so long. I'll have to go. I know who you're talking about, but I got to go look into it. I haven't heard that name in so long that I kind of blanked out on my info for him. Good question, though. You mentioned they didn't trade guns a lot. I believe if they did, the guns were garbage. Yeah, another good point, Dan Robertson. The ones that they traded even later were known as just like crappy weapons. They traded lots of munitions and lead, though. They did absolutely. I didn't. I just learned though in researching this that they weren't always known as gun runners. I thought that was like the first thing they did, and it's like no, that kind of came. The Comanche were actually trading guns to them for a while. Let's see, how unified or organized were the Comancheros? It seems like loose. They were like a loosely organized culture. I don't think that they had like exact bands of Comancheros. It seemed like they lived in the area and operated as family units and maybe like unified bands of family units. It seems like I'm going to do more research on this, but it seems kind of akin to like how the Comanche would work, like different bands under the subheading or under the heading of Comanchero would be subheadings of different bands underneath which would be subheadings of different families. But I'm going to look more into that. I've just done kind of a peripheral, basic outline research on the Comancheros so far, just to get the feel for y'all and to get an idea for the movie myself. Comancheros were master navigators. Yeah, they would have to be. I mean, let me finish this comment. Spanning the vast tracts by reading the stars, wind patterns, and grass patterns, crazy in tune with nature. In that respect, yeah, you could equate them with any great nautical culture, be it the Polynesians, the Vikings, whatever, because they're using the same navigational tools and they're in a very similar environment. Like it's essentially an ocean of grass and desert. That's what they're operating in. And if you get lost, it's going to be basically the same consequences. So they have master navigators, master negotiators, and just straight up super ballsy dudes. It's ballsy people. Like there's no way I'm going out there. I'm not going out there today, much less back then. But it was kind of a necessary thing for them. They didn't have any other way to sustain themselves. You were just going to be sustenance farmers, and even then, they weren't getting everything they needed, and they saw no real way to make any money to get ahead. Come and share. Okay, got that. Sounds like the ice cream man. Oh yeah, the ice cream man. That's good. Yeah, I grew up out in the country, so we didn't have ice cream men. We had these guys, the Schwan trucks, and they would like bring out all these frozen goodies to you, and you'd buy them there. But an ice cream man would be a good analogy. I can still remember the milkman, says Bama Deanna. Ah, man, that must have been good times. Let's see. Remember? Wait, I lost my track there. I had my chat like skipped 3 or 4 chats. Okay, there we go. Happy Cap says, I remember the doctor making house calls. Maybe that's kind of coming back. Like the Kennedy family during the prohibition. Yeah, basically, that's how the Kennedys made their money, Papa. Remember when TVs whistled? I do not remember when TVs whistled. Let's see. Thank you for blazing the trail for us, Bucks, Cappy, Indiana. Yeah. Comancheros must have been like a Wild West flea market. Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's and kind of like a mobile Walmart or something. Like they were just I think that's I wish everybody had Schwann's, man, because that would be the best analogy that I have. Kind of what like an Amazon driver, like a fleet of Amazon trucks that would just like be on this delivery route. I didn't know that okay. We got a lot of chat within the chat here, which is awesome. I don't want to barge in on y'all's conversations. I first learned of the Comancheros from the movie Outlaw Josie Wales. Yeah. And they're a good literary device because they're kind of a mysterious entity that can serve a lot of purposes in a story. So they were basically peddlers. Yeah, more or less, like high level uh, negotiators as well. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, there was nobody else out there peddling. So they saw a gap and they filled it. Okay. So also, before we get going, any questions on how we run the movie night, just so nobody gets confused? Peddlers against demons. Yeah, scary business, said Dan Robertson. I can think of few things scarier. Yes, I can think of few things scarier. I would even, to me, see what you guys think, but to me, it would be more scary than going on a Texas Ranger retributive raid against the Comanche, because at least in that context, it's a hot situation. You know that, like, okay, as soon as we see the Comanche, it's going to be a fight. Like, for better or worse, this is the context that we're operating in. In the Comancheros sense, in the Comancheros case, they don't really know. Like, the goal here is to trade with them. So you don't want to start a fight, but you don't know whether you can trust them, whether they're going to unalive you and take all your stuff, or whether they're going to be the best deal you've had all year. And you have to kind of operate in that gray space at all times. You don't know after the deal goes down if they're going to catch up with you miles down the road and take all your stuff and unalive you. It's just, there's no part of it that's not fraught with anxiety, but they made it work, and they made it work for over a century. The Schwann's man taught me about retail shrinkage. It's real and it's unfortunate. That's true. Let's see. That's okay. I think we're okay. Yeah. Any questions on the movie though? Before, I don't want to like start it and I have somebody confused. And I'm gonna check for that, and then I have to run over to my counter and grab my earbuds, just like last time. I forgot to get them. That's not for us. Okay, I think we're all set. So, like I said, yeah, if you don't have a copy of the movie, I linked a copy at the top there. And give me 5 seconds. I'm gonna go run and get my earbuds. All right. That was almost literally 5 seconds, right? So let me get everything set up for the movie here. It's a 1961 John Wayne movie. It's got Lee Marvin. It's got Ina Boleyn. It's got, who else here? It's got a whole cast of characters. It's good. Okay. So also, before we start, remember our HOKC rubric. It's not about out and out accuracy. This isn't a documentary. It's about, well, does it tell the truth on the aggregate? And does it spark the interest of the viewer, someone who may not be interested in the history of the Comancheros or the Old West? Does it spark their interest? Would it get them to go pick up this book on the Comancheros? If so, I think we got to rate it a little higher. That's our metric. Terry R with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Terry R. Thank you. So I'm guessing the Comancheros didn't have a return policy. Not that I know of. I don't think they had warranties or return policies, but maybe, but I doubt it. Let's see. John Wayne is Francis Marion. That's true. That's true. Let's see. A little known fact, but that's true. Okay, guys. So if you are watching it, give me a 1 in the chat. Let me know you're ready to go. I don't want to start ahead of everybody. Once I see some ones, we're going to get going. I'll give you the 3, 2, 1, and we'll jump into it. This one is, I believe, an hour and 45 minutes long. So Paint Your Wagon was 2 hours, 40 minutes. So that was a marathon. This one's mid-level race. Okay. So got a couple ones. We're ready to go. We are starting the movie, The Comancheros, in 3, 2, 1. Bama Deanna, I'm related to. Are you related to John Wayne? Maybe is that how you know his real name? New Orleans, 1848. Okay, so this is the late 1840s. We got a duel going down here, very reminiscent of Jim Bowie, the sandbar fight. Oh, who is this other guy? How am I blanking on this guy's name? He's a famous actor. They're dueling over a lady. Understandable, guys, but you know what I mean? Let's think about this a little bit. I'm going to do 10 count, 10 paces. Honestly, this is another one of those things where it's like, yeah, is this good? No. But if you had a couple pops in you, you know what I mean? You knocked a couple back and this was happening down the street, you'd go watch it. If you say you wouldn't, you're lying. Okay, they're doing their 10 paces. Come on, bro, get him. Oh, no. Man down. Sucks to suck, buddy. The doctor is running over to him. Honestly, the doctor's like, "What happened here? Is he alive?" It's like, I'm not a doctor, and I can tell you he's not. Let's see. It is who is this other guy? I feel bad. It is Stuart Whitman. Cool looking dude. Got some good swag, got some long coats, got some cravats going. Also starring Stuart Whitman. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. We got some attitude going back and forth between the two of them. This is very, I feel like, they're really pointing to the sandbar fight here. It's in Louisiana. It's 1848, which would be well after the sandbar fight, but it's very evocative of that. Now, Paul Regrets is the guy's name. He is being charged with murder. I think we can say that. I'm sure we can say that. That's the literal charge. Interesting here, though, too, because duels were not exempt from the law. It was it depended on the state and the municipality, but most of the time, if you unalive someone in a duel, you'd be charged. I do like, again, how we have, I kind of like it, how we have the credits at the beginning. At least it's very evocative for me of a classic John Ford Western. Got lots of landscapes. We're clearly out away from Louisiana now. We're out somewhere in the desert. Nice scenery, though. This is a John Ford movie, right, guys? That's one thing I didn't look up. Let's see. John Ford, Comancheros. He didn't direct on. Okay, okay. Michael, I don't know. I don't know who. I should have looked that up, but I was too busy looking up the actual information on the Comancheros. Great landscapes, though. But this is what you would have lived in if you were a Comanchero. You can see there's nothing there. There's not even like cover. There's very little in the way of resources. You're just as close to the middle of nowhere as you can get within the continental United States. I'm sure I'm not losing you guys here. We still have mutual combat laws in Texas. Yeah, we do. I think they're relatively conditional, though. I don't think you can have a duel. Actually, his name was Marion Robertson. Yeah, I thought his first name was Marion Bamadian, but I knew it was something like that. I love the credits at the beginning. Says Pet Detectives. Me too. I think it's a classy thing to do. Now we're on a riverboat or in a gambling hall of some kind of fancy dinner. I like the swag, though. Everybody's looking good so far. Gambling can be a very common thing. Though I've read that it's really more of a Pharaoh was very popular. Not as poker wasn't as popular until the later 19th century because it was just more complex and harder to learn. Let's see. All right, technically, I think we're good to go. No tech problems. No tech problems. That's always good. Really cool set though. Ina Boleyn, she's in there. Guys, I am a sucker for a dismissive brunette. What are you gonna do? She's obviously not happy. She's, you know, nothing better. Nice silverware in the background. Like this is obviously a very wealthy, very very wealthy scene here, a very wealthy backdrop here. But a good job for the 1840s. A cotillion or a ball of sorts. The dancing style. And what I like about what they're doing so far is showing lots of color, because the Old West is a far more colorful place than we imagine today, just because of black and white photos. But especially at the time, they were trying to evoke a sense of civility and a differentiation from nature by having bright colors, having they wanted to stand out from the nature they were surrounded by and the rough stuff they were surrounded by with vibrant colors and textures and patterns. Cigars were very popular, especially amongst this class. Ina Boleyn is just on one for whatever reason. Were you into Miss Parker? Miss Parker. I don't know who Miss Parker is. Cynthia Ann Parker? Like, sorry, dog. Like, no disrespect, but not so much. The Pretenders, Miss Parker? I don't know. I'm not familiar. Pretenders, Miss Parker. Let me write that down, bro. Oh, here we go. This isn't good when you're taking a shot and this moody brunette comes up and says, "You have my next dance." And you're just like, I'm trying to hang out. You know what I mean? Trying to have a shot. So she's shucking off this old guy. I don't want to dance with you. I'm going to dance with the party boy over here. Great landscape scenes. Absolutely. Cappy, I had to go back and forth in my memory. Okay. Finding the movie. Okay, you found a free version to watch. Cool. Right on. We're at, if you are just starting, we are at 7 minutes, 25 seconds. What you can see, though, and I think we'll see throughout this movie, is the juxtaposition of classes. This is very much an upper class activity, pastime. And my hunch is that it'll contrast nicely with the austerity of the Comancheros environment. Oh, she's telling him to go back to her cabin in half an hour? 1961 was a wild year. And we get harsh for like stuff that's on TikTok now, which I understand, but she's like, come on back to my cabin in half an hour. Now she's got a robe on. Don't mess up popping the cork on the champagne, bro. Well, that wasn't a real champagne. That bottle just, the cork just came right out. I've had to do that before. It's tough to do under pressure. Are you in the film production industry? No, I'm not. No. You seem to have an eye developed on that anvil. I don't. No, I'm just some hillbilly watching a movie. Andrea Parker. She's showing him her wedding ring. This is saying this is the smallest stone that he could afford. Man, this lady is she's trouble, guys. My advice, if you meet this lady in real life, go the other way. Wow, she has like, yeah, striped pillows. This is a super. I think they're really trying to push this angle of luxury and color and texture, and then they're going to juxtapose that sharply against a very austere landscape. A very austere landscape, beautiful landscape, but austere. He says, "You are a very unusual woman." What a line! What a line! This is kind of making me want to start wearing a cravat, guys. It looks pretty ballin'. And a waistcoat. She says, "You admire entertaining women, and I admire men that can't be bought. Nothing changes. Nothing changes." And that this wouldn't be unheard of, but I mean, stuff like this happened in the 1840s too, guys. Nothing changes. Though we have like the weakest carbonated champagne I've ever seen. Though, an interesting point, champagne was far more common in the Old West than people realize today. Very, very common drink. Though sparkling wine, yes, because the vast majority of it was not from the Champagne region of France. Now, in walks the Duke. This guy's cuddling up with his pillow like a chump. He thinks it's Ina Boleyn. It's not. He's just hammered. Here's the Duke. He's checking his jacket, taking out his pistol. Now, okay, I'm a Duke fan, right? He looks cool as you're gonna get, but his hat is a little early. For the period in 1848, they wouldn't have that crease and the creased brim quite yet. That's 1870s, kind of and beyond. Just his general look is more of a 1870s cowboy than an 1848 Ranger. In general. But I mean, for the effect of the film, it's absolutely understandable. So this is Jake Cutter, captain of the Texas Rangers. He is coming to arrest this gentleman. This happened as well. The Rangers were sent out on arrest missions. Though I don't know if they collected individual bounties. Let me check the chat real quick. Champagne is yucky. It depends. It depends. Actual champagne is good. Da, 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 da. She's playing the vixen for sure, says Terry R. She does a good job of it. You can tell that. So far, though, it's a good representation of the late 1840s. Like we said, keep in mind our rubric, our standard is like, well, is this going to spark someone's interest in the subject? Great set so far, though. And kind of showing all right, this is interesting. It's showing the Rangers' propensity for detective work or for um, law enforcement arrests. This would be something more common generally after the Civil War. Like they were more of a direct action force in the late 1840s, not exclusively, just like aired a little bit more toward that. What are you watching? Says Z Brooks. We're watching the Comancheros. The link is at the top of the description if you want to watch along with us. We are hold on one second. We are 13 minutes in officially right now. Oh, Elite Super Grunt. Yeah, my bad, man. We are, just at 13 minutes right now. So now this guy's back looking for Ina Boleyn. She's gone. Surprise, surprise. Hate to tell you, bro. Isn't this guy like 40 and he's surprised by this? He's like, where did she go? Like, bro, come on, man. What did you think was going to happen? The best thing that happened to him today is John Wayne coming and arresting him and getting him out of there. I like the tone. The Searchers is my favorite John Wayne movie, which is very serious, but I like these kind of lighter John Wayne movies where there's an air of humor to it. Though he does a good job on carrying heavy movies. Great scene here showing the unloading at the docks. And I mean, like, keep in mind, this is the antebellum South, so you're seeing probably a little bit of slavery here, just saying. He's putting him on the mule, and the man's arguing the mule is a less than desirable choice of mount, right? For some people it was, but some people preferred mules. The mule is really underrated in the history of the Old West, especially the mountain men. Mule are really sure-footed, really smart. So the mountain men loved mules in the mountains. And John Wayne's a good horseman. He spent more time on horseback than I ever have. This is a good visual tool, though, to put the escaped prisoner on the back of the mule, though. It kind of visually sets the scene for both of them. I am caught up, says right on, Elite. Is John Wayne's tool belt supposed to ride on his groin like that? He wore it where he wore it, but curious, what do you think? I think that's a little low, man. I guess it would just depend on how long your arm is and where you need that holster to be, but I was thinking the same thing. That's a very low slung gun belt. Now, this I thought would be interesting because now you can see the what is his name? I gotta look up his name. The gambler's finery here. The gambler's nice outfit and his top hat is now completely juxtaposed against this harsh background. Now he finds this little Derringer pistol. I think that's what it is. And he pulls it on John Wayne. I don't know. This guy has clearly never seen a John Wayne movie because it's like, well, don't do that. John Wayne has a hot skillet of greasy bacon in his hand. And he's like, let me put that down before I engage this guy. He just punches him in the face. How realistic is this? I don't know, but it's pretty cool. I love old Westerns where they punch each other in the face and then they just kind of like have a conversation afterwards. It's how this country used to work. Classic right cross. That was a good one. He got his head off the center line. He's a little discombobulated. He's still tied to a saddle. And John Wayne's going to smoke his cigar. Right on, man. Right on. I like the scene so far. Visually, though, we've done a great job visually. We got the criminal on the back of the mule, kind of showing his stature, his supposed stature, just a little bit below John Wayne's. John Wayne's on a nice horse, and now this guy's clearly out of his element, where John Wayne is in his element. We're seeing this real contrast back and forth. And I like this too. We're coming up to the fence railing here, and it shows the fence railing. And they're coming up. There's some sign of civilization here, right? But then everything behind them, all of that. There is not a telephone pole. There's not a little shack. There's nothing out there. So it shows you again how isolated we are. I believe it'd be a few weeks travel to get from Louisiana to the New Mexico desert here, but that's just a guesstimate. But Ford is a lot more comfortable on a horse. Hold on. I'm trying to check the chat too here. Cross draw up high on the hip was more average. Yeah, it'd be up higher on the hip. I know that cross draw was more common, but it would be higher on the hip, right? Louisiana Greg? That's just way down there. But Ford is a lot more comfortable on a horse. Okay. That makes sense. Meaning like the holster being farther forward up on your lap when you're sitting in a saddle. Great insight, man. Thank you. Okay, now we're coming up on this homestead and it's burned out. Great representation here. We got the fire. Oh, wow. We have a whole crew hung upside down. Looks like two people who have been unalive. No, there's a whole menagerie of unfortunate unalive people. Two of them have been hung upside down. What a great scene. This wouldn't have happened. You can see there's like this really elaborate knot tying the two men's boots to the cross beam there as you come over the gate. I haven't heard any account. That's a lot of rope and a lot of tying, but you see people scattered about and strewn up in all kinds of ways. Great representation here. You can see a lot of stuff is on fire. That big haystack in the back would likely be put on fire too. Wow, pitchfork into the dog. What a scene. And we have, I don't like that, guys, but it's very, this is accurate. The old woman has been unalive. The young woman has been unalive. The dog. We got a little doll showing that there were children involved. What a scene. He says, I reckon we'll find the little girl inside. The gambler says, well, do you know these people? And he says, I rode many a night with all of them. Again, do we have exact accounts of this? No, but this happened hundreds, thousands of times on the Texas and New Mexico frontier. They're showing them burying all of them. Especially during this time, it was seen as very important to give each body a Christian burial. If you could, there were instances where that just wasn't practical, wasn't doable. But this is something that was done. And if you've ever dug a hole that size or anything like that in that kind of ground, it sucks, guys. It's a workout. I don't know what this scene is. My chair is like creaking in the background too for some reason, guys. So if you hear it and it's annoying you, let me know and I'll go switch it out. Okay, so John Wayne, hold on. We gotta go back like 10 seconds. What just happened? I think the gambler incapacitated John Wayne somehow. So now he wakes up in the rain. He's pissed off. He's like, well, the guy's gone. Hanging low would bounce all around on a horse. Well, yeah. So, but are you saying like the holster would be higher up on the hip when you're on a horse, but put further forward? It literally beats you up. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. It's a heavy. People don't understand how heavy the revolvers are. This would be 1848, so it might be a Walker, but that'd be pretty recent. This had to be very edgy in 1961, says Terry R. Yeah, thank you again, Terry R. Thank you very much. Makes this all possible. Thank you. And it's not just the violence. It was like he's over there in this in Ina Boleyn's cabin, and they're like hanging out. It's like pretty risque. But this is, 8 years later, there'd be Woodstock. So, oh, there's Patrick Wayne. There's John Wayne's son. Cool looking guy. I always thought he did a good job in these films. And it's funny. He's talking to John Wayne about writing a letter to his dad, and it's like, well, this is actually his dad. Oh, interesting scene. That's really cool. So now we're showing the inside of a law office or Rangers headquarters of some kind. Again, everyone is dressed more akin generally to an 1860s, 1870s Ranger, except for Patrick Wayne. He's that with the leather jacket, the scarf, like that would be more akin to how an 1848 Ranger would dress. Now we're inside a jail cell. We're talking to some kind of gun runner. And he's saying, "Oh, this was so bad that I ran guns to the Comanche." Yeah, this is actually interesting too, because we learned at least a little bit earlier that this would be pretty early for the Comanche to be actually running guns. It's not impossible, but not necessarily common in the 1840s. Just get that out of me, guys. You got me back in the chat if you got me. Let me keep going here. We have a repentant criminal here who's in jail, and he's saying, "I just never should have got in, excuse me, fallen in with this Comanchero crowd. That's where I went wrong. I need to return to the Lord and get right." But he's saying, "I just can't remember." Okay, so the guns were stolen. That's a little bit of a confusing scene for me, guys. I got to be honest with you. But they're trying to ascertain who's been running guns in this area. Let's see. Dan Robertson, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Matching Terry's energy. That's tough to do. He's got a lot of energy. Thank you so much, Dan. That's awesome, man. Thank you. In 1848, you would have the Lagoon, the Walker, or the 49-inch 49, which roughly came out at the time. And yeah, you would have a cross draw, all holster, and it pointed forward. Okay. Yeah, the Dragoon, you mean? Yeah. In 1848, you would have the Dragoon, the Walker, or the 49, meaning the different um, pistols that are available at that time. What's up, Space Cowboy? Good to see you. Welcome in, bro. Welcome in. We are, let me see. If you want to watch the movie along with us, we are 24 minutes and 15 seconds in. Yeah, a lot of this stress, I get why it's done this way, but a lot of this stress is just a little post 1840s. I would actually have to double check when the Rangers got their badges in. I forget the exact date. So I don't know if they had the badges by 1848, 49 or not. And this kerchief and the style of hat are just a little post 1840s. All right, now we're seeing a wagon running through the desert. This would be, it sounds like the Comancheros had more open wagons. So I don't know if they have the canvas top ones. We'll have to see where this goes. Let's see. Come and check the chat here. I'm gonna get. It's like I have tennis eyes going back and forth between the chat and the movie. Let's see here. Late 1870s for badges, I think. Yeah, I thought they were much later, Dan Robinson. Right on. Thank you for that. So again, it's a device within the movie that isn't entirely accurate, but it's kind of necessary so that you know who the Rangers are. You kind of get what's going on. It's like, oh, they have the badges. Those are the Rangers. John Wayne has a cowboy hat. Okay, I get what's going on here. Now, he's kind of going undercover, John Wayne is, and he's got a top hat on, kind of a fleece coat or something. But this isn't too far off of what you'd see in the 1840s. It's still the tail end of the beaver felt top hat craze. And this is relatively accurate to what a local hotel would look. This is a very well, this is a very, very big fancy hotel. Now, I mean, I just saw the zoomed in shot. This is a very fancy hotel for the time. Most would just be like a plank building. Oh, I think this is a bit of a brothel, but even then, it's a fancy brothel for the time. John Wayne has two ladies in there. Okay, all right. This is a racy movie, guys. John Wayne's just like he has this look on his face, like I have this happen to me all the time. We've got two young women. I don't really know what their profession is, though, to be honest. But there's an awful lot of fingerless gloves for them to not be ladies of the night, I would say that. A lot of booze in the room. Okay, so what he's doing, I see it. He's assumed the identity of the runaway gambler. Oh, here's Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin, he's not happy. Here's our boy from Paint Your Wagons. Lee Marvin's my boy now, guys. Since Paint Your Wagons, like, oh, this guy's so cool. Oh, he whips him out of the room. He's like, get out of here. Well, this guy's he goes hard. And yeah, interestingly, you can see his gun belt is much higher up on his hip. I have a 49 pocket made in 1853. Yikes. Well, nobody's gonna be messing with you, man. He was checking out the whiskey more than the women. Fair, he was. He was. Maybe it's something scripted, true, or maybe he's just so used to seeing that many women in his hotel room that he's like, let's see what the booze is like. Lee Marvin offers him some snuff. Now, this is what I was waiting to see. Lee Marvin is portraying, I believe, a Comanchero of some sort, and he has clearly been scalped in the past. He's missing the left side of his scalp, and he's dressed in this kind of menagerie of beads and bandanas and a jacket. It's just kind of it looked like it's all been thrown together from Comanche accoutrement and uh, clothing you get at the local trading post. So he's got this wild look to him. And he's got a braid in his hair in the very back. Really cool look. Not again like entirely what you'd see from the Comancheros, but not that far off. And it sparks. It's a really cool character to spark the imagination. Hey, from Australia, Bonita, what's up? I think you are our second Australia viewers. What time is it over there? It's like morning over there, isn't it? Let's see. Are we missing? Did James say something? I'm seeing James in the chat. Looking for James. Do, 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 do. Hmm. James, if you're missing something, let me know in the chat because I'm not seeing where the initial comment was. Bonita says it's 1 p.m. In Australia. Wow. 1 p.m. on Monday, though, right? Lee Marvin is a pretty mean guy in this Liberty and Balance. In Liberty, I'm not sure what that means. James asks if we were live. We are live. Yes. Oh, James Holbrook. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see it. This is live. Yeah. If you want to watch along with us, the link is at the top of the chat for the rental, or some people have found it for free on YouTube, apparently. Is this live? Sorry, James. Yeah, I just didn't see it before. Thank you for the super chat, though. Thank you very much. It's live. I'm watching along to the movie, the Comancheros. If you want to pull it up on YouTube, I'll tell you where we're at. Let's see. Unless it was a well placed shot. Oh, did I miss somebody getting shot? I think I did. The Comanchero guy, Lee Marvin and John Wayne are boozing it up at the bar now. Guys, that gun belt is really low. It does make him look like he has two waists. Terry R, 1800s Mad Max theme with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. You guys are killing it with the super chats. Thank you very much. Dan Robertson matching James and Terry's energy. Yeah, thanks, James. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Terry. Thank you for all the super chats. And if you can't super chat, not a problem. Just make sure you like the stream and maybe share it with somebody who likes history. I think we're like the first live history show, so we're breaking new ground here. But this would be a very fancy place, a very fancy saloon for the frontier. Now they tried to make them as fancy as they could. There would be animal heads and lots of mirrors and paintings up. And this is a pretty fancy, pretty clean one for the movie's sake, obviously. But they have a wood burning stove in the middle. That was a real thing. Piano in the background. Yeah, John Wayne hauls off and hits Lee Marvin. Fantastic. Any scene where John Wayne hits Lee Marvin, gonna be a good one. And that was really I don't know, I bet that wasn't part of the script, but Lee Marvin almost knocked the coat rack onto himself, and John Wayne caught it. So, a lot of, joviality here. He's gonna hit him back. Hit him back, Lee. Boom! Lee Marvin hits John Wayne. I knew it was going there. Alright, alright. Good times. It's like a Leonard Skinner song, but from the 1800s. "I'm at a birthday party and just ate 3 oysters," says Artemio. Well, then in that case, don't look at the Ina Boleyn scenes, if you know what I mean. Oh, the man who shot Liberty Valance, Louisiana Grace. Okay, I got you. What were you saying about that? Sorry, the chat's going by fast. Um, oh man. Oh, Lee Marvin is a pretty mean guy in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. I haven't seen that in 20 years either. I gotta watch that again. I've become such a big Lee Marvin fan. And now they walk right back out and they're singing again. A very Irish scene here. A very Irish scene. Okay, now they're at a restaurant. Let's see what we got here. Pretty accurate. Coffee, some bread, some steaks. They're getting sobered up here, having some cigars. This would really depend on where you were on the frontier. Some places he's got some broth or something. Some places would just have beans. Some would have some in small towns would hire fancy French chefs. So it just kind of depended where you were. But this is realistic. It's a very posh place for it to be that far out on the frontier, but it's realistic. Elite Super Grunt, you're behind 10 seconds. We are right at we're at 33:25 right now on the dot. That wood stove would be the center of attention for the whole town in wintertime. Absolutely. And imagine having like one too many and accidentally putting your hand on it or something. That would suck. Now we're heading to the back. The boys got some steaks in them, had some coffees. Okay, we're going back to the what's a poker table here. Um, could have been poker back in the day. Oh, now we come upon our gambling fugitive friend. If I was a gambling fugitive, probably I wouldn't go right back to the nearest gambling table if I was on the run from the law. Yeah, they're playing 5 card stud. Wouldn't have been unheard of, but what I've seen mostly is they play Pharaoh. Lee Marvin hit the Duke. Shame, 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 Lee Marvin. Well, the Duke hit him first, I think, just to even the scene out. But I agree. The greatest punch in cinema history is from McClintock, where he says somebody ought to hit you in the mouth, but I won't. I won't. The hell I won't. Uh, Greatest scene in cinema history. All right, John Wayne's cleaning up here. And what they're I think this is interesting too. The Comanchero, Lee Marvin, is sitting at the table and they're telling him that his gambling style is too wild. And it's almost kind of a metaphor here because to the Anglo population, let's say, of the area, what the Comancheros were doing was gambling and it was way too wild for their taste. So this wild character coming in and kind of giving off this air of uncontrollability, volatility is, it's used as a device in the movie, but it's smart and it represents kind of the two cultures' views of each other. And he's viewing the Anglo culture as almost soft to a feat. Let's see. James Holbrook, what's up? I'm well versed on the Comancheros. Are you like you should have been here earlier? We could have used you, picked your brain a little bit more. If you see anything pop up in the movie that I'm not catching, let me know in the chat because we can use it. Do you have this is the book we've been using. I don't know if you have it or not. The Comanchero Frontier. It's been a really good read so far. And we broke down. We did a 10-minute breakdown at the beginning of the episode. So when this gets done, or you can go back and check it out, let me know if I missed anything. Now we're seeing a real conflict between the Comanchero and the Texas Ranger here. There's a real sense of tension, and I think it's used to kind of show the tension that grew certainly from the 1840s on between the Americans and the Comancheros, because until the 1840s, they didn't really know that much about them. Lee Marvin's playing with fire. Yeah, but I think that's what is it, an allegory or metaphor for the actual culture of the Comancheros themselves? Oh, my heart, I can't tell you how many times over. Oh, you've watched this movie a bunch of times? I've watched a bunch of John Wayne movies a bunch of times, but not this one. I've seen it, but like I said, probably been 20 years. Oh, Lee Marvin's shot. Oh, no. And that might be it for old Lee Marvin. But again, showing the violence of the world, the frontier world. Now the Ranger's coming back. He's arresting the gambler. Now, again, this is like not really accurate. Like most bars, even the 1840s, that's pretty early on, but a lot of bars would make you check your weapons. A lot of times coming into town, you'd have to check your weapons at the sheriff's office. So the notion of there just being guns on every hip is not entirely accurate, or that you could just have a gunfight in a saloon and that there'd be no consequence to it. You can just walk out of the bar and leave the unalived Comanchero on the ground. Not true. Not true. But again, a good device for the film. And now they're right back out in the Mexico frontier, the New Mexico frontier. I don't know. I think there's just really something to the way Wayne's dressed, where it's like neutral tones, and he looks like he's from out in that area. And then you got the gambler in the bright red jacket. Looks very out of place. I have never watched a John Wayne movie, Bam Indiana. You haven't? Wow. Loving the play by play, says Pet Detectives with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you. You guys are knocking it out of the park with the super chats. Thank you very much. I'm currently watching El Dorado for the gazillionth time. I haven't seen that, gosh, in many, many years. So he's making the gambler. I'm not sure what the gambler's digging, to be honest. Oh, he's making him dig up caches of weapons, I believe. I believe the Comancheros would store caches. I don't know if they would bury them underground or that they would all be dozens of boxes of weapons and munitions. But again, it's starting to kind of show the nature of the Comancheros' business. And it shows that the weapons are coming on the side of the box there. You'll see it says Fort Sill. So it's implying that these are stolen from Fort Sill, I believe. Loving your energy, Pet Detectives, with a $2 super chat. Dan Robertson, man, thank you guys very much. All of that, it just helps out so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. Bam Diana says, I've watched a little bit of The Searchers, but that's it. Wow. Well, hopefully you'll enjoy this one. My grandpa was like a real like working cowboy, and he just never liked John Wayne because everybody compared him to John Wayne. So he didn't watch John Wayne either. But to be honest, he was a lot like John Wayne. Great scene though. Again, I wonder I do have a question for James. Maybe you can help us out here as to whether I'm not watching the movie. You wouldn't really have to watch the movie to answer this, though, James. If you could just help us out, if you know, I didn't have time to cover this, whether the Comancheros would use covered wagons or were they more open wagons? Or obviously it could be a mix of both, but that was something that I didn't expect to come up in the movie, and then I wasn't sure whether that was accurate or not. Now we're back at some kind of settlement. But again, they use the background really well. So all of the um, buildings and everything are right in your face, and then everything behind it is just expanses of nothing. Got Texas Longhorns here. Gosh, I don't know how common that would be in 1848 either. It's pretty early for that. I'm just taking a look at the rest of it here, trying to take it all in. Let's see. All right, there's a mix of accuracy in the costumes and kind of um, jumping ahead a little bit chronologically in the equipment and the dress of these people. But the more they're going out on the in the field, the more the costumes get accurate to the time period. Now he's coming up on some other Texas Rangers who had an engagement with the Comanche. There's Patrick Wayne playing another one of them. It's a good scene. It's kind of a headquarters. And again, just they're driving home this point of austerity all the time. It's at least they're doing it subliminally with this big, open, expansive background. Let's see. And you're seeing this real divide at the time too between the gambler kind of represents the Eastern urban culture, and he's like, I don't want to be out here. I don't want anything to do with horses. You know, he makes his living at the gambling tables, and the people of the frontier. It's much rougher. Um, and there's no use for the skills of a gambler way out here. All his value is kind of evaporated. Let's see. Just checking the chat real quick. Let's see this one. Good evening. Okay. Oh, what's up, Plowboy? Good to see you, man. Most of the people's costumes are accurate, though. The wagon's accurate. So far, we're looking pretty good, guys. And I think this would pique almost anyone's interest in the subject. Oh, and he says, "Okay, this is interesting. This kid at the local settlement, to the ranger station of sorts, this way station, is telling the gambler that there's Comanche in the area." And the gambler says, "What do you mean, Indians?" And he says, "Yeah, the worst kind. Don't you know?" And that would be the word on the frontier for sure. Now we've got a regiment or a company of rangers coming in. This is a little bit more militaristic than you would actually see in a ranger company. They're all lined up perfectly, and the commander says, "All right, move out." And it's like, it wouldn't. It was much looser than that, discipline wise. Let's see, Dean Martin and Ricky Nelson. Isn't that in Rio Bravo? Okay, yeah, I see. Sorry, I saw Rio Bravo mentioned above that. Okay, whippoorwill, great song. Good, they're showing. Okay, I think they're building more of a relationship between John Wayne and more local settlers that he seems to have known for a long time. He says his wife is having a baby. So they're really kind of building up the vulnerability of these people way out here. Now he chains the gambler to an anvil. Smart move. Smart move. Probably should have done that right when he got there, but where's he going to run off to? And I like too that they just show there's two trees in the background and nothing else. So they're showing this bedridden woman who is either I believe she's sick or possibly pregnant, not sure. But I think they're establishing more and more the vulnerability of the people at this settlement. Everything inside the cabin is, again, this is a very large house for the time. Most of the cabins in the Texas or New Mexico frontier, especially Texas, more Texas, would be a dog run cabin where you have like two buildings and a kind of hallway space in between them where the dog would run. James Holbrook, $2 super chat. I'll look for it. Oh man, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I can look for it in the chat though, so you don't have to. But thank you so much, dude. I believe they use two wheeled carts pulled by mules. Right on. I thought I'd read something about two-wheeled carts in the earliest iterations of them. I also read oxen had pulled them. Understand? Okay. Let's see. I'm just not. Let's see. Bama says I'm just not interested in John Wayne movies. Understandable. That's a contentious position, but I'm not a. I wouldn't force the issue if you said you're more of a Sam Elliott person. Understandable. Understandable. We have people that are more Clint Eastwood people or Robert Duvall or on and on. Jimmy Stewart. Now we see a Comanche attack coming. This is good. This shows them everything is kind of everyone's sitting down to eat, and then all of a sudden the Comanche are halfway across the river. That's how a lot of accounts happen, where it's like I looked out the window, there was nothing there, and I looked out again, and it was a landscape full of Comanche. Now this is really interesting. We're showing Anglo riders of some kind riding along with the Comanche, and they're all wearing their cowboy hats, which is not necessarily how it would have unfolded, but it's a way to show in the movie who is who. Very interesting. An attack unfolding. We've got a bunch of sandbags out front, which isn't necessarily something that'd be super common, or I haven't seen a lot of accounts of. Wait, lever action rifles too. That wouldn't be in 1848. That's a little, but hey, it's not going to take away from the point of the movie. I'm right about that, guys, right? No lever action rifles in 1848. Maybe oxen as well, says James Holbrook. Cool, that's what I read. That's what I'd read, but oxen and mules. Bama Deanna says, "You mean a dog trot?" I've heard them called dog trot and dog run cabins. There's an example one in Seguin that they had moved. It was actually on an old ranch, and they had moved it to town, and it's called a dog run cabin on their plaque. So I just got used to calling it a dog run cabin. But yeah, dog trot too. It was a raid on the livestock. Yeah, this is a raid on the livestock. Yeah, like I don't even think they would have rifles shells in 1848, would they? Yeah, nothing but muzzle loaders at that point. Okay, cool. That's what I thought. Finally, a firearm question I was right about. But again, it's just I think it'd be hard to maybe make an interesting scene or portray any kind of fight that would be realistic when you have guys using muzzle loaders and it taking a minute to reload. It wouldn't make as good of a scene. Now you see the gambler flee out into the desert, which is ill advised. And this is very, very, very far eastward for a Texas Ranger to be operating in 1848, just to clarify. I love the horses falling and the tricks. Yeah, these are everyone thinks these are like simple movies, and it's like, no, the stunt work in this is amazing. There was no CGI. They had homemade cartridges at the time. Okay. Oh, like preloaded, right? Elite Super Grunt? Like preloaded cartridges, right? Like, you have, like, the bullet, the gunpowder, the wad, or whatever it's called, all ready to ram down the barrel, right? If I understand it correctly. John Wayne hated Clint Eastwood, is that true? I have no knowledge of that. Let's see. Lee Marvin hated John Wayne? Really? You'd think these guys would have so much in common they could get along. Yeah, lots of sandbags. I haven't seen a lot of, accounts of a lot of sandbags. Doesn't mean there weren't, but I haven't seen that. And we're seeing this kind of pitched charge between the Ranger forces and the Comanche happening in a corral. It's like that's more for cinematic effect. I think we're seeing it kind of devolve into a running fight now. And then back comes the gambler. He's like, "Oh, that wasn't a good idea." But the efficacy of the scene is not lost on me. It's like, well, they're trying to portray the speed and the violence of action that would happen during a Comanche raid. And like, yeah, that's it's effective. It's hard to believe Clint Eastwood is still around. Yeah, he's still around. I saw Dick Van Dyke just turned 100. Isn't it wild? I can say Dick Van Dyke on the algorithm, but it's a name. All right, they're disarming the gambler. They're like, "Thanks for helping us fight, but that's over." John Wayne switched his hat. That's unusual. The guys wouldn't have had that many hats back in the day. He's had 3 different hats in this movie so far already. Let's see. You could have a Colt revolving rifle. In 1848, I'm actually asking, which would have like a reloadable, would have a 6-shot cylinder, same caliber and everything, but in like a carbine form. He's talking about the size of the war party. That would probably be a couple dozen Comanche. It could be anything from that size to hundreds and hundreds of Comanche. So that wouldn't be a particularly large war party of the dozens of Comanche we saw in this scene here. Now, everyone that's kind of a uh, an extra in the scene has kind of period appropriate clothing on, except for the Comanche who wouldn't have had a ton of headdresses at the time. That's kind of more later 19th century. And the wife at the place, just the farmer's wife just had a baby. Fitting a lot into this scene, but I like it. I like it. I wonder how they got the newborn baby. Is that a real baby? Hollywood back in the day was just like, screw it, find a baby. For the revolver, they had ball rolled with powder. Imagine a cigarette, but with powder and shot. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's like a paper tube thing, right? Yeah, almost most of the extras and the extemporaneous characters here have something more akin to period accurate clothing. But you got to make the star look cool. So I'm fine with that. Hollywood wasn't always historically accurate. I mean, they're basically never historically accurate. But it's a like not never, but that's not their primary goal. GR1, Mr. Reaper 82, like, and our I've said it earlier, but like our metric is not accuracy per se. It's more like, does it spark interest in the viewer to go read the actual history or examine the actual history of the topic? And so far, like, this would pique my interest to examine, to investigate further. Great background shots and everything, though. And we're just going to keep, I think, hammering home the fancy dress of the gambler and the more pragmatic dress of John Wayne. Just as it's like a visual juxtaposition throughout the whole movie. And we're showing, there's a little lagoon in the background. It's there. We're showing that in the canyons and the river bottoms, there is some lush areas. So it is showing the kind of biodiversity of, I believe this is far west Texas. Oh, and maybe I said earlier, if I said earlier, like 2 minutes ago, that the Rangers were operating well east of where they would normally operate in 1848, I meant well west. So my bad. Before the comment police jump on me, because that would be a just one, guys. My bad. Hollywood was about shooting a bunch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But one thing I always say, and James Holbrook, and you probably maybe you agree with this to some extent, they at least jumped into a bunch of different stories. There's a lot of these Old West stories, a lot of the little known stories of episodes I've done actually have a movie about them from the 1950s or 60s. So they were at least trying to portray these stories. They're at another frontier settlement here. This is like not West Texas. This is maybe getting towards eastern New Mexico. Oh, sorry, guys. That was very unsettling. I don't even know what that was for. Jeez. Always something happening here. James Holbrook agreed. Cool. Yeah, yeah. I wanted to know your opinion on that too. I was like, oh, hopefully you agree. His sleeves are rolled up for show too, whereas the Duke is just big chilling with his sleeves normal. No, good point. Good point. I'm not a film expert. I'm just going like, well, even for a layman. I'm getting what they're trying to put across. And the woman has perfect makeup and lipstick and everything, so you gotta respect that. She's keeping the game nice and tight, even way out on the frontier. Yeah, he keeps saying Texas, and, like, this is maybe the Davis Mountains or something, but this looks with the pines and everything and being that far west, more like the Ruidoso area. And we're playing this kinda xylophone toy. There were toys out in the Old West, real simple stuff. Generally, though, if a kid had something like this, that would be rare. Like, usually it's hoops and homemade toys. Willie Nelson has been in several westerns. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of one right now. I know he was in the Electric Horseman. There's a bunch of them. He was an outlaw with a top hat in one of them, but I'm blanking on it right now. Now, the gambler is trying to swoop right in on the housewife, and he says, "Oh, you said your husband was dead for 4 years." It's like the second thing that he says. Hmm. But he's saying that her husband was dead for 4 years, but he passed away in the Battle of San Jacinto, which is like 14 years before this. Oh, Bama Deanna, redheaded stranger. Yeah, I should have known that. I should have. My bad. My bad. I don't do a good job of my cross wiring during a stream. I can only focus on the one, the one video I'm seeing. Honeysuckle Rose. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was in that too. Isn't that the name of his bus too? So the gambler's spitting his game here. I don't think it's going terribly well, but he's not going to stop. Another thing that is probably not entirely accurate is the picnic cloths. There's a lot of picnic cloths here, and they're kind of always out over the dinner tables. If there even was a picnic cloth or a tablecloth, it wasn't going to be used regularly. We're showing a Holstein cow and her calf in the background there. Yeah, this doesn't look like Texas, but I get the point, guys. I get the point. Interesting. We have a little chicken cage. Yeah, chicken cages made out of wicker, basically. Very interesting. So this wagon is a little more akin to what the Comancheros would have used, except a two-wheeled version, at least in the Comancheros' earliest iterations. A lot of good one-liners in every John Wayne movie. They're taking a while to build this, though. We've only got one Comanche attack so far. Wow, we're an hour in. So I like this. It's not. I actually like that because it's not gratuitous. It's there. It is telling a story. John Wayne's having trouble with this calf in the background. This little, I guess, Hereford looking calf, but it doesn't want to go, and he's having to really pull it during the scene. That's funny. Yes, Willie's bust is named the Honeysuckle Rose. Yeah, I thought so. I've seen his bus driving around here in Austin. Let's see. I like this interaction between the two, though, and you're getting an interaction between two classes, I guess, two backgrounds of Americans at the time. One more easterly, one more westerly. They're not totally understanding each other. Now we're seeing I believe they're evacuating this family. Okay, that makes sense. Which would happen pretty frequently. Like a flood warning or something like that. You'd basically get this word of mouth Comanche warning, and you would try to get out of there. And oftentimes they did not. Lots of very nice horses in this movie, there's probably more horses than you might see typically, especially for 1848. You'd see a lot of oxen and a fair amount of mules as well. Heading to the store, Elite Super Grunt says, going mobile so I'm not missing out. Right on, man. You gonna go to HEB? Now we're pulling into another settlement town. And they keep reference there's lots of rangers in this. And he says, "Well, where are the other rangers? Oh, they're in the rangers headquarters." Like this is just super far west for 1848 rangers. Just to be clear. I don't have a problem with it in the movie, but just to clarify. Let's see here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, Dan Robertson. I disagree. The Comanche raid would have been far more calculated, surprising, and effective. That was a mess of a raid. The Comanches executed precision and perseverance. I think I was trying to kind of convey that. Other than I think it's not too small, but that's a smaller band of Comanches. But they did a good job with them kind of appearing out of nowhere. There's a lot of accounts of that, and the lady just looking out the window and suddenly seeing them coming. I mean, they're coming from like 200 yards away in this instance. Yeah, that's pretty quick. You probably hear them crossing a river before that, but it does get the point across. Yeah, that was a pretty sloppy one, and they would generally be more calculated than that. True. And they wouldn't wait like 5 minutes after the Rangers left to then hit the town. They would, or the settlement. Yeah, they would wait probably a day or two. So now we're talking to the local judge. Yeah, really, the overarching point with the accuracy is just keep in mind they're trying to sell a film and sell characters and differentiate characters because this is all like a Texas that you would have seen 25 years or 20 years on uh, from 1848. But these are effective characters. I think it's not as important as the accuracy, but it's kind of a 60-40 mix. Like you don't want characters that are so accurate that it costs you the efficacy of them. And like we can tell, even just looking at this scene, there's the judge, there's the two rangers, here's the criminal gambler. Let's see, checking the chat real quick. So actually, they're recruiting this criminal gambler into the Rangers. Not impossible, not impossible. You don't win a war with choir boys, which is a bit of a trope, but it is incredibly true. That's a large part of how the Rangers evaluated their recruits. Like you didn't have to be perfect, that's for sure. Really interesting interactions between father and son here, John Wayne and Patrick Wayne. Yeah. So actually, the covered wagon that I was asking about, it is the wagon of the Anglos here, so not terribly indicative of the Comancheros. But we are an hour into this, and we've seen one Comanchero. Very interesting. It almostly, I think that's effective for the film too, because the Comancheros are so kind of mythical and mystical in the American mind that like just showing one and then having them remain on the edges of the film is really interesting. Guys, oh, that's my medicine alarm. Sorry. The worst thing you could have during a live stream, I'm well aware, is an alarm going off. So I'm trying to prevent that. Sorry. Gary Busey, the Outlaw Barbarossa with Gary Busey is one of the movies that Willie Nelson started in. I didn't know he was in a movie with Gary Busey. I mean, Gary Busey is kind of a homie, right? Like, I get it. He's wild, but he's entertaining. Oh, very interesting. We're seeing a a shiny pan being used as a signaling mirror. Signaling mirrors are absolutely common, especially in the desert. We're seeing the Rangers use them, which wouldn't be unheard of. They would adopt quite a few of these tactics pretty quickly. But the aesthetics now of our criminal gambler have been completely changed now to match the rest of his compatriots here. He's a full-on Texas Ranger now. Again, more of that 1860s, 1870s look, but I digress. Elite Supergrunt says, I've been assaulted several times on a simple walk to the store. Well, dog, hands up, protect yourself at all times, you know? I don't see anybody wanting to mess with you, but all right, we're seeing the Comanches come in. I believe this is a contingent of Comanche, and it shows John Wayne's character able to speak Comanche. It's implicit. Now we're seeing some sign language. Yeah, the Comanche is looking for whiskey. I'm wondering if those are Apache. And so now the gambler is asking John Wayne, "How do you tell the difference between friendly bands and hostile bands?" And John Wayne is it's a crude analogy, but it's not necessarily bad. He said it's like snakes. Like there's a snake right by the gambler's boots, and he said, "Well, this is a harmless gopher snake." But you can if you once you learn to tell the difference between this and a rattlesnake, you'll understand. And it's like, you know what? That's a little crude, but it's not inaccurate. Um, Elite Super Grunt says HEB is a walk away, but it's a walk through some mild BS. Well, be careful out there, dog. Um, Bonita, let's see. Fan fact question: why the Bikey gang adopted the Comancheros name? I'm not sure. I guess it's just a tip of the hat to the legacy as kind of outsiders and um, operating on the fringes of society, and it kind of rolls off the tongue. Mm, checking the chat real quick. I think I'm caught up. Happy Cappy says, I'll be right back. Can't wait to watch the movie in chat. Absolutely. Come on back anytime. We got about 40 minutes left in the movie. Let's see. Looks like they've somehow gotten a lance that's supposed to be a Comanche lance, but you really wouldn't see lances with all these feathers in the late 1840s. You would see the long 12, 14-foot lances without maybe feathers at the very end of them, but not adorned to this degree. That's something they really adopted later, post the Civil War, really, from the Cheyenne, Kiowa. Elite Supergrunt says, my dog's name was Budweiser. That's a great name, man. He was a shepherd mix and passed away early this year at the age of 9. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I just lost my dog recently too. It's rough, dude. It's rough, but it's worth the cost. Let's say that. It's worth having him. Or you got the lever action rifle back out. Oh, we spotted a Comanche. Bad news, guys. Okay, and this Comanche has a long lance, and there's scalps tied to the end of it. I like that. That's pretty accurate. All right, now we've got the two surrounded, and this wouldn't be super common that you'd have just two guys riding on a wagon by themselves through Comanche territory. But again, it's very effective to show the isolation. And then we have another ranger, Patrick Wayne, riding all by himself as kind of a security measure, a couple of 100 yards away from them. Not terribly common, but an effective way to again show the general odds of that the settlers were facing against or the Comancheros or the Rangers were facing against the Comanche. Now we're seeing a much bigger band than the first band that had attacked the settlement. Probably, if not literally hundreds, it's giving the effect of hundreds. It's a couple dozen here too, but it has the effect of a much larger raiding party. And we're way far out in the desert for Comanches to be operating here, but it happened. Okay, he tells the Comanche that he's operating as a Comanchero or with the Comancheros, and the Comanche's attitude automatically changes. Now they're happy to see them because they, you know, the implication here is that okay, now like I said, it's like Santa Claus coming to town. Now we're going to be able to trade for all these goods. How are you watching the movie? I have two different windows open. but you can watch it on the phone or a different device. You can I like having if you wanted to watch along, probably the easiest way is to have headphones or put the movie on mute. Or I guess no, I have to do that because of copyright. So you could not have the movie on mute, but two different windows is my preferred way. Bamadiana says, "My little dog is 18 years old. I think she may be getting ready to give it up." Well, you never know, though. Little dogs can last a long time. Let's see. There's one store that closes at 10 p.m. here, one stop sign and no red lights, population of 180. Well, a lot of people would envy you, Bamadiana. So let's see. The Comanche dress is just a tad more elaborate for about half of them than you would normally see, but I like it. It's good. I feel like they're visually making it clear that these are Comanche. Now they're bringing them back into this kind of trading camp, it looks like, but they have an unalived victim strung up on this netting. It's very much a Mad Max feel, like a Thunderdome kind of feel, which honestly, this island, at least the feeling that it evokes is pretty accurate. And again, maybe it's just me, but we've got all of the people and the structures and everything right in our face, and they really throw that big expanse of a background in anytime they can. Now, here's the Comancheros, and you see this is good. The way that the way they have them dressed is pretty good. Ragtag clothing, a kind of mishmash of cultures, really kind of culturally ambiguous, maybe you could say. And John Wayne comes in and says, "Now I want to do business," and that is kind of the key phrase here. They just kind of throw these crates of rifles on the ground, which I don't think you would do, but you got to sell them. They start passing these firearms around, and they try to unalive John Wayne, and he just sweeps them out of the way. He's like, "People try to do this to me all the time." Now he sees the boss man, another culturally ambiguous guy, but dressed much finer than you would really see a Comanchero normally dressed. They're hammering home the traditional Western kind of look and what's the word I'm looking for? Um, personality. There's a word, guys, that I'm just blanking on. But the traditional Western aesthetic combined for the main characters, and then everyone that's an extra is in 1848 relatively accurate clothing. Now they've got John Wayne and the gambler tied up and stretched out in this kind of orchard scene. Again, kind of a just not terribly accurate, but used to evoke the overall sense of the scene and the area. But it happened. There was guys that were strung up, that were tied to wagon wheels, stuff like that. And they show their captors hanging a water jug next to them and coming up and taking sips of it just to kind of psychologically um, beat them down. I want to say the T word, but I really can't. Terry R, Space Cowboy. Thank you very much. A Space Cowboy needs a movie time mark. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Space Cowboy, what's up, dog? The chat's full tonight, so I'm missing some of them. We are at 1:15 and 5 seconds right now. Thank you very much, Terry R. Thanks for bringing my attention to that. And sorry for missing you, Space Cowboy. These are going by fast. 1:15:15 says Dan Robertson. Thanks, Dan. Aha, the brunette's back. Ina Boleyn has all of a sudden showed up at this remote trading post, which, hey, man, you know what I mean? There's no escaping them. There's no escaping a brunette on a mission. So now John Wayne and his buddy, the gambler, are back in an Adobe building. Mm, yes, there'd be Adobe buildings. I'm down with that. We got peppers hanging up all over the wall. Yeah, good set. I like this. They're just using a lot of combined elements to kind of tell 3 decades worth of a story. Great great villain though. Good he's evoking all the creepiness and, distastefulness of a classic villain. But everyone's here to let's see. Okay, we're holding an ad hoc trial, and they're sentenced to capital punishment, and this would be pretty common. There and you don't have any governing authority. So there's no Mexican government out here, there's no Texan government, there's no United States government out here, no overarching federal or, state or county municipality. Honestly, we got, like, a super dope, very modern 1960s looking, uh, adobe house in the background. Looks like something you'd see in Santa Fe or Taos today, but I believe that's the boss man's house. So effective visual storytelling here. Now we're seeing a hanging mob form. This is frontier justice. This is very similar to how many ad hoc frontier courts were carried out. Sometimes justice would be democratic. They take a vote. That happened in the Donner Party specifically, where they voted one member into exile. So the judge says, "You come among us uninvited. You come among us uninvited." That carries a sentence of a capital punishment just for being here. So this is the boss of the Comancheros. And again, this is a not necessarily literally accurate, but it shows the insular nature of the Comancheros culture. And you can see behind you all dudes in the background. It'd be a mostly male way out there. Not exclusively though. The way this channel is growing, it will be, let's see. Uh, long lances were definitely used. That's the way they brought down Jedediah Smith. I know, dude. I covered that in a live stream a couple, maybe last week. How terrible was that, though? That was a rough end for our boy Jed. Let's see. The way this channel is growing, it will be doable. Oh, it will be double before long. Oh, hopefully, hopefully. Thank y'all very much. It's only growing because of y'all. Nothing like HOKC and the variety they put out, says Terriaro. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm having a blast. So thank y'all. Thanks for coming and checking it out. Ina Boleyn got the red and black going, so she's really pushing the villain aesthetic. You ain't fooling nobody, girl. And now they're kind of arguing for keeping John Wayne and the gambler around because of the skills that they've displayed with firearms. Again, not inaccurate and really a a practice of the Comanche culture. Well, they wouldn't usually adopt people, grown men, but they would admire them. They would mete out less of a terrible end to those who showed bravery. Ina Boleyn is just up there talking mess, running the show. All eyes on her. Even on this film set, it's like, come on, this is 90% guys. She must have had captivated everyone's attention. Now we're seeing kind of a meeting between the Comancheros. They are like I said, the main characters are dressed much more in the style of kind of a traditional Western movie. But this, notion of having small meetings amongst each other and negotiating and then um, carrying out the deal they agreed upon was how the Comancheros operated. James Holbrook says, indicative of the time. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. $5 super chat, man. Thank you so much. You're so generous. Like, really appreciate that, dude. Yeah, a rough time though, right? And they never recovered his remains or anything. It was just like Jedediah Smith is, one of the greatest mountain men of his time, and then he's gone. Now we have this 19th century wheelchair where they were wheeling the boss man around his palatial adobe estate. And it's even decorated with cacti, which is really interesting. But this looks like a Taos, New Mexico, or no, maybe like a Santa Fe, New Mexico Airbnb now, or like a place that they would rent out to shoot a music video in. But this is an expansive. This would not be accurate to a Comanchero's headquarters or um, homestead. Much, much more elaborate. But it is to show their wealth. I think it's a visual tool to show how wealthy the Comancheros were in many, many respects. They wouldn't be this extravagant in most respects, but you don't keep a business going for over 100 years if it's not profitable. And think about it like this. So if you think about them as a business, like they're in business way longer than McDonald's has been in business now or Walmart at all. Et like ET all. Let's see. Hollywood was always lazy with costume in the 50s, 60s westerns. Everyone looked like Woody from Toy Story, says Grim Reaper. I think that's just a Grim Reaper was spelled with numbers. Yeah, I think they're being, you might call it like necessarily lazy with the main characters to be real charitable with it. Because if you were completely period accurate, it might confuse some of the viewers. They really want them dressed like classic leading men of the time, but with the extras and some of a lot of the background and everything, they're doing a good job. They clearly knew they knew what the actual accurate story was, and they kind of worked within the bounds of that. They tried to work between that and full on Hollywood, it looks like. So I give them credit for that. And just a lot of this is like, yeah, it's not completely accurate, but it's a tool to kind of instantly explain something or instantly elaborate on it. Like we don't have time to explain all the intricacies of accumulated Comanchero wealth or the intricacies of how they functioned economically or the dynamics of them with the Comanche tribe. We kind of just have to show it visually. All right, now they're having a little meeting about their problems. And John Wayne has another hat, guys. There's 4 hats, I think. Where's he getting all these hats? I'm fine with it, but just like the logistics of it. Let's see. Space Cowboy, did you say something else? Is there a way for you to find out what number subscriber I am or the date I subscribed? Humbly pride myself in discovering channels early that quickly became very popular. For instance, I was one of the first 75,000 people to subscribe to Critical Drinker. Really? Wow, man. Dale Dye and Arlie Ermy forever changed the way military movies are made. Yeah, that's true. Ever since Full Metal Jacket. Um, I think, dude, it might tell me on my studio app, but I'm not sure. I'll look and see. It does tell me like my newest subscribers, but I don't know if it tells me what order. Oh, now the gambler is talking to this another brunette over there doing laundry. I mean, I'm not saying she's hotter than Ina Boleyn, but you know. So he's over there. He's trying to spit some game. Doesn't look like it's working really well, but it might have been a strategic move because he knows Ina Boleyn saw him doing that, and she's over there in her red and black get up. And she's working it in this movie, man. She's got a vibe. Nice space cowboy. Hopefully you were the first subscriber, and hopefully this blows up. Hopefully, man. I think we're on the right track. John Wayne's over there trying to talk some sense into Ina Boleyn. Ina Boleyn's just impeccably made up this whole time too, which is admirable. He got all those hats from the costume department. No, for sure. I'm just wondering in the context of the movie, like, is he carrying them in hat cases somewhere? There's a lot of hats, but he's a man of many hats, you know? That dude just hanging out in the background. He has a lot of people just like kind of chilling in the background. And most of those people have, 1848 relatively accurate dress. Super fancy halter on that horse, too. Uh-oh. Ina Boleyn says, In every relationship between two human beings, one is dominant and one is subservient. Bro, somebody tell the gambler to just get out of there. Try to escape again. Screw it. Go into Comanche country. It's less dangerous than where you are right now. Oh, she's got some fancy tack, like this silver studded black leather stuff. So look, you would not see that in the Old West. We got to do BTTF3 for a movie night. Back to the Future 3. Oh, dude, I'm gonna write that down. I like that. Now we're showing the Comanche coming into town again. The Comanche all have these lever action rifles. I get it. Not even opposed to it, but I feel like we should clarify that that is not the case in 1848. Oh, this is really interesting though. They're showing Iron Jacket. Oh, there you go, Chief Iron. They're calling him Chief Iron Shirt, but this was a real. A lot of sources think he was Peyton Nakona's father, who is the father of Quanah Parker. He was a legendary figure, though. They finally brought him down at. I did an episode on it. I can't believe I'm forgetting it. I believe Rip Ford went and tracked him down, but a super famous chief who is supposedly got a breastplate from the Spanish conquistadors at some point. It either was passed down to him and retraded for it or something like that. And there's arguments whether it was chainmail or an iron breastplate like you're seeing in the movie. But really interesting that they slipped him in here. In 1848, I believe would have been an accurate time for him being alive and influential. Iron Jacket, cool. Yeah, yeah, they snuck him in there, right? What's not the case in 1883? Maybe I missed something in the chat there. We're seeing everyone just running out and firing their firearms into the air, not generally terribly common because ammunition's expensive. We are showing an unalived man at the gallows and his wife or loved one in the back praying for him. Very interesting scene. Very interesting scene. They're discussing the odd duality of women as it concerns to Ina Boleyn. He says, She'll never act the way you figure, as a matter of fact. I wish I knew how she was going to act. Don't we all, dog? Let's see. The buckskin is pretty. That buckskin is pretty. Yeah. I joined December 13th, 2021. Wow. Thank you so much. That's very early on. Let's see. Yeah. Deanna's an OG. Oh, so she's going to go negotiate with the Comancheros for them as an intermediary. And they're nervous about what she's going to say, which, to be honest, guys, I mean, can we blame them? And we're showing a bit of a fandango here. These wild parties with the Comancheros and the Comanche, where they would, and other tribes, but they would have all these crazy games and drink like nuts, like crazy, and just have like a big fiesta. Yeah, they're showing these riding games. They're showing them riding in between spears, which is a wild take on what they would have actually done, but it's pretty cool. There's like a Mad Max vibe to this that I'm digging. And man, they stocked up on brunettes. And they are showing like every feminine character in the movie with a bright dress and just really made up. It's like it's cool. It's just this contrast, very like soft against rugged, you know. Now the gambler is just walking to his doom. He's gonna go meet her. Oh, he's trying to kiss her. Oh, bro, I tried. We all in the chat. We tried to warn this guy. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, y'all. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. It's like, bro, you're in this little tiny settlement and you've got half a dozen smoking hot girls, and you're going to go after the one that's wants nothing but your demise, wants nothing more in the world. Some guys you can't help. Let's see. Impressive your level of engagement to this channel. Still Deanna. Absolutely. Thank you for your consistency and support that helped me discover him recently. Yeah, thank y'all. Thank all of you, especially. Yeah, thank y'all for been around that long, but we appreciate everybody. And all y'all that have been around that long, man, thank you guys. Been through the peaks and the valleys. Yeah, I really like how they're showing this Fandango, though. All right, now we have a contingent of Rangers approaching. They got them riding double file in a very organized formation. Now here comes Patrick Wayne to report to them the trouble that they might be in. Let's see. Very interesting so far, though. Now it's starting to really pick up. Somebody is hiding in the bushes here. Careful, Patrick Wayne. We've got two Comanche hiding in the bushes. Very interesting. Oh, they took him out. Uh-oh. John Wayne is not going to be happy about that. This happened quite a bit, though. An ambush with two Comanches um, hiding in the bushes. There's several accounts of early Rangers, mostly in the 1830s. The accounts that I'm talking about right here, but on their way from San Antonio to the east through Gonzales, Seguin, places like that, who were caught in the middle of those towns on the way in between Seguin and San Antonio and ambushed and never seen again. Ina Bloom with another costume change. Our gambler's gotten one costume change the whole time. John Wayne's gotten like 12 hats, and this lady has a different get up every time we see her, which is I'm fine with. I'm just saying. Let's see. HOKC, when did the channel start? I did one video like late December or December 2021, and then I was trying other ideas out, and I didn't come back and really get started on HOKC till like spring or early summer of 2022, I believe, somewhere around there. It's all kind of jumbled up in my mind now. Oh, he's in the room arguing with Ina Boleyn again. Find China everywhere. They're just, I think, really they're putting an effort forward to show the scenes in fancy places to be really fancy and everything else to be really austere. And he's telling her, I'm a wanted man. Got big Bon Jovi vibes here. Let's see. That's the date the channel was started by you mean like the date this one was started? I guess that would be the official start. Yes, I did one video, but it was, man, 3, maybe 5 months before I came back and made the second one and really got started on it. I was trying a bunch of different channels. I didn't join them, but I tried to catch every episode, says James Holbrook. Man, thank you very much. And we got a bunch of episodes out now. Space Cowboy says he's a loner, Dottie, a rebel. It's given those vibes for sure, man. I like this the what's the them kind of skirting this almost gaudiness is interesting though, because it really makes Ina Boleyn's character look more separates her in her elegance and perceived wealth here. But they're showing a good mix of a frontier town in New Mexico where there are natives walking around, there are Comancheros, there are Anglicans, Americans, Mexicans. John Wayne reaches down. That's a little sus, guys. I don't know if I like that move. That's a dangerous one. But he picks this guy's firearm off him as he's lighting his cigar. That's tricky, tricky. One thing here is we show the Comanche in full war paint, getting ready for a night attack. Not necessarily the case. But we need some kind of visual separator to show that these are Comanche. So understandable. They show the native here so inebriated that he passes out in his plate of food. I mean, like, listen, it's unfortunate that you would show that, but the Comanchero accounts, it does show that they were running whiskey, right? Like it's again a really short visual, a really short little part of a scene to illustrate a larger point. Let's see. Just seeing them enjoy another fancy dinner here. There just wouldn't be this much finery way out on the frontier 99% of the time. It just made you a target as well. Need to get those likes up. Where are we at now? We're at 47 likes. Yeah, if you're here and you haven't liked it already, like the stream, click the thumbs up button, share this stream with anybody else who might be interested, even if you think they'd be interested. Tell them you need to come check it out. Now, Ina Boleyn is trying to get the Comanchero boss out of town. She says, "This is not a safe place. We're going to get raided here." Oh, it's Iron Jacket. So they're showing Iron Jacket so inebriated that he passes out, falls down from the table. There's not any historical records of this actually happening. But again, just making an overarching point in a quick scene here. And indeed, the whiskey running became more and more of a problem for the tribe itself. It was destroying the tribe from the inside. And then for the behaviors that it elicited caused the settlers lots of problems. I'm just happy to be here and blessed the OK Corral puts out so much valuable info and engages live with the viewers regularly. Very informative, engaging, and satisfying, says Dan Robertson. Man, thank you very much. Thank you all for the kind words. That's awesome. This is I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. Truly. Bamadiana says 19,721,553 views total on the channel. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's just the start. Oh, now we're back in a fist fight between the gambler and the Comanchero boss. The gambler can fight, though. I'll give him that. They're really kind of rubbing in this notion of native alcoholism a little much, but it makes the point. It makes the point. Though it kind of makes the characters a little campy. It's kind of de rigueur for 1961. Been listening to your channel for about 4 years, says Billy Bob Bry. Wow, thank you very much. Thank you for all you've done. Thank you for listening for 4 years, man. Thank you. Space Cowboy. That is true. They are grossly underrepresented in this film. In this film. John Wayne trying to pull this apart here. Now we're kind of checking all of our traditional Western boxes here. We're approaching a bit of a gunfight. We are having a fist fight, lots of drinking. We're kind of getting all the boxes ticked off before the movie ends. If you were a firearm expert, I would wager that this movie does drive you a little nuts, though. I would understand. And John Wayne saying, "Listen, I'm taking Ina Boleyn and we're going to Mexico." Some things change, some things never change, right? It's interesting though that we see this kind of Eastern American, more urbanized character just blending more and more, becoming more and more a Western character himself. And kind of again, a metaphor for how settlers in the area would have kind of taken on the traits. You would be coming out from the East and then by necessity take on the traits of the inhabitants of the area. Oh, Iron Jacket passes away in this scene. That's not true. Oh, he's mourning. So, uh, John Wayne is mourning the loss of uh, his own son in the movie, the younger Ranger, played by Patrick Wayne, and he's looking for vengeance now. So we got John Wayne on the revenge trail. I feel like this is going to culminate with an action scene, guys. Very cool night scene. We have the black-clad widow, it looks like. And in the 19th century, there was like an actual protocol for what you were supposed to wear for how long after a loved one passed away. And Also determined by your relationship to that loved one. Now we're seeing Ina Boleyn again, kind of manipulating these guys, but she's good at it. I'm gonna have to get a hold of where we're at in the story here. Okay, so the Rangers have captured um, the uh, hmm, criminal Comanchero leaders who have set up the unaliving of the youngest Ranger, played by Patrick Wayne. Now they're, I believe, bringing them to justice, and the lone widow is kind of standing there confused. And now she pulls out a knife, and the two Comancheros who are loaded into the wagon and handcuffed now grab John Wayne and start trying to fight back and get away. Oh, the widow comes up and sticks the knife in the back of the Comanchero boss. I feel like Jim Ross in WWE right now, like Triple H came out of nowhere with a chair. Wow, she really did that. That's pretty gangster. She just grabbed that thing and went to work. And now John Wayne and his Ranger companions are taking off with the Comanchero bosses to bring them to justice. Very interesting. Oh, one of the Rangers is shot, falls out of the wagon. Now it's just John Wayne, and he shoots a keg of gunpowder, causing a big explosion and driving his pursuers back. He really kind of packing all the action in at the end here. We've got a four-horse team, which is a pretty big wagon team for just that amount of travelers. We got a lot of stunt falls, though. Oh, James Holbrook, $5 super chat. I'm glad you do this for all of us. Well, I'm glad you guys show up. You never know if people are going to want to show up and watch anyway. So thanks, James Holbrook. You're a champ tonight, man. Every night, but thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's awesome, man. Thank you. Awesome commentary, says Elite Super Grunt. Well, thanks, man. You guys are part of the commentary too. Let's see. I'm not a firearm nut, says Space Cowboy, but one thing that really irks me in movies is trigger discipline. Ah, that's not a bad point, man. It's not a bad point. Especially when the guy's supposed to be a firearms expert in the movie. Fair point. Walking back from the store, says Elite Super Grunt. The clear night sky is great. I can see most of the planets, most of the quote unquote planets, Elite Super Grunt. Uh, did you go to HEB though? Oh, now Ina Boleyn is a firearms expert herself, and she's coolly and calmly firing upon the pursuing Comanche. And she has a completely different outfit on now as well. So I don't know where she's packing all these clothes. I mean, she looks good. I'm just saying. But you know what they say: look good, feel good, fight good. I do like how we have the Comanche approaching. They're hidden behind ridge tops, and they already have kind of preemptive placement to set ambushes on the people they're trying to catch. And they flip the wagon over. Very cool. Well, unfortunate for our stars here, but now we're barricaded behind a wagon. This happened. Yeah, this for sure happened. Where people would be stuck in the middle of nowhere, and it did not end well for them. Very rarely would you see like what we're seeing here with a contingent of rangers showing up out of nowhere. But this is again very illustrative of an attack of its kind. So we see the Rangers coming to the rescue. We also see Comanchero forces fighting on behalf of the Comanche, so it's kind of a combined force. I don't have records of the Comancheros fighting directly with the Comanche. We do have records of cattle bandits and ne'er do wells, let's say, joining up with them. I am too inebriated for HAB to sell me a beer. I went to mom and pop store. Right on, right on. Good times, Elite Super Grunt. That's a way to pick your shots too. Space Cowboy. I'd love to have a firearms expert watch this during the firearms scene. I'd be willing to bet a lot of these firearms aren't used. Oh, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. There were no lever action rifles. It would have all been single shot weapons. Wouldn't have been bullets per se. They would be preloaded cartridges. Yeah, I think that's again just a device of the movie so that they can show a rate of firepower that's interesting to the audience. But no, they show all these rifles would not have been around at the time. They are, gosh, roughly 20 years, 15, 20 years in the future. Let's see. Now I like how they show burned out remains of places that have been attacked in this movie because that's what you would see was just this cloud of smoke before you even got to it. 90% of the time, right? The vast majority of the time, everything would be set on fire, the prairie around it, the haystacks, the dead livestock. If it could be lit on fire and they had time to light it on fire, they'd light it on fire. Wonder how many horses were unalived during the filming. I don't know if there were any unalived during the filming. They're still pretty expensive. They try not to waste them. Ina Boleyn and the gamblers say like, "Well, now we're gonna get out of here now that we've won the fight." And John Wayne's all right. He's like, "All right, well, we'll see you later." And he rides off and leaves them in the desert. Like there's no more Comanche ever anywhere around. You know, and that's the end. Okay, it kind of ends again with this foreshot and background shot. Very cool. Good pick, Terry R. Good pick. All right. Let me know what you guys think. What'd you think? Good movie, thumbs up, or number one in the chat for a good movie, number two for a stinker. I enjoyed that though. I enjoyed that. I haven't seen that in a long time, so I thought that was a good watch. I heard like 80% of the cast got wait, I think I'm missing something. Patrick Wayne is a handsome guy. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Can't argue that. Wonder how many horses. Okay, we've got that. Is it true that John Wayne more than likely passed away from radioactive dust exposure while filming near the bombing test sites? That's interesting. I haven't heard that. I mean, you know, my propensity for my proclivity, I think, for conspiracy theories. So I'll look that up. Something blew my mind about firearms is they had a pneumonic air rifle. Yeah, true. They did have a pneumonic air rifle during the Lewis and Clark expedition. I believe they had those for a while. I heard like 80% of the cast got from it. Really? The cast on Comancheros? Is that kind of towards White Sands? I've heard that too, Dan. Let me look. Let me write that down. No, I've never heard that. Radiation exposure. Wow, that'd be terrible. Cool. I'll look that up. I thought it was a great movie. I loved it. Says Happy Cappy. I did too. Dan Robertson says one in the chat says the same thing. That went by fast, says Clock Cutter. Yeah, that moved right along, didn't it? I like how they kind of held the action for the most part till the very end. Thank you, Nick Sweeney, for the movie night, says Terry R with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Terry R. Thank you for supporting the program. And thank you, Dan Robertson and James Holbrook. Man, you guys have been great tonight. Thank you so much. It's better to look good than to feel good, according to Billy Crystal. Contextual. I wouldn't disagree entirely, but it depends what context you're in. I forgot what movie. This one is the Comancheros. Wayne passed away from stomach cancer. Maybe he had exposure on the set. I've never heard that, but I'm interested to look into it. John Wayne passed away because of the curse of Oak Island. Just as interesting of a theory. Terry R. liked the movie. I think Forgotten Weapons channel has at least one video about the Lewis and Clark air pew pew. Really? Forgotten Weapons is one of those. That's a real weapons expert. That is his bag, man. There's like too many numbers in calibers and stuff for me. I confuse them. Super Grunt, you could get abducted by aliens on your walk to the store. Be careful. I think he just got back though, so he should be okay. Let's see here. The radioactive dust, says Dan Robertson, was kicked up all over the place when filming. Yeah, I could see that. And statistical likelihood of all the cast members getting cancer was likely due to this. Dude, really? I'm feeling California. I'm feeling California. Well, you mean like looking California, right? I'm looking California. feeling Minnesota. And what do we think happened to Chris Cornell, guys? Yeah, looking. Okay, yeah, looking California. Sorry, not all, just a good amount of it. Yeah, but I mean, any inordinate number of the cast members, right? Like that's a valid question, man. Like hanging out at Chernobyl. Wow, that's a good point. I didn't. So this was in the White Sands area, and this, the nuclear testing would have been 17 years, 18 years before this, so relatively recently, all things considered. Wow, guys, I'd never heard of this. I'm here because you get my references. Yeah, right on, man. You got good references, though. Though it's a good question, though, right? Like, what happened to Chris Cornell? With all due respect, it's like, that doesn't add up to me. Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, Anthony Bourdain. I don't know, guys. Is it in New Mexico? That's what I was wondering. Let me look up where it was filmed. Where was Comancheros filmed? In Moab, Utah. Comancheros. Let me just look up Comancheros radiation. Just curious. Is it in New Mexico? It says it was filmed in Moab, Utah. I'm not seeing anything pop up initially on the radiation question, but that just means you got to dig a little deeper. I hope Elite has made it home. I believe he said that he did. He stopped by the mom and pop store. He felt like the good people at HEB might not be as helpful because of his current state, which they're good people at HEB, but I don't think they should harsh our boy like that. Just give him a beer. You know what I'm saying? Directly downwind of the Nevada test site. Moab, Utah is directly downwind of the Nevada test site. That's super sketch, says Dan Robinson. Agreed, bro. I'm going to look into this. Space Cowboy says, yeah, the Chris Cornell thing is a rabbit hole. It is. It is. It is. It is. Same with Chester Bennington. Same with Anthony Bourdain. Kurt Cobain is a whole rabbit hole. Brittany Murphy, a whole rabbit hole. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying, like, in respect to these people, like, I don't think they're telling us the full story. Let's see here. Wow, we're almost 2.5 hours. And thank you to everybody for hitting the like button too. That really helps us out. And the other guy, I can't think of his name. Chester Bennington. That's it. Yep. Chester Bennington. Yep. Just immensely talented people. Let's see. Nick Citron says, damn, I'm so lit. No worries, man. I was wondering if you're going to show up. No problem at all, though. You can go watch the stream back. It'll be posted. We'll be back. Oh, guys, I have an appointment tomorrow, so I might have to do like a lunchtime chat or like an afternoon chat instead of the coffee chat because I have an 11 o'clock appointment I have to be at. We'll do the same thing for the evening chat, and then our next episode should be out, maybe out tomorrow for members, and then release on Tuesday. And then that's the Mountain Man one. Then I've got a Rangers one. So a lot of stuff still coming, guys. And then we're putting out some sleep episodes too, which are just episodes with I'm thinking putting a campfire sound or rain sounds, and then it'll be like 10 minutes of pictures, and then it'll just go to a black screen so people can sleep to it. I've got a lot of requests for that, so just like a Christmas present extra for those who want to use it. Allegedly, Chris Cornell was very anti-trafficking and had some correct assumptions. Allegedly the same thing for Bennington, Bourdain as well. Let's see. The movie with the radiation contamination was the 1956 The Conqueror. Is that the Genghis Khan one? The Conqueror. Okay. Is that the Genghis Khan one? I feel like that's right. Nighttime cricket sounds. Yeah, what do you think? Like nighttime cricket sounds? I'll run a poll. I'll run a poll tomorrow and see what you guys think. Oh, let me that's The Conqueror, as John Wayne is Genghis Khan. Like, bro, for that movie too, that movie sucked. Let me bring up, I'm going to put the link for this book for you guys too. I know a lot of you guys like to have the book. True Frontier. This is a cool one too. I haven't seen this book at bookstores. I had to get it online. So I'm going to. Have you seen the Comancheros? 53% of you had not seen it. So this is the first time for a lot of us. Here is the link to the book. I'm going to pin that at the top of the chat. That is up there now. Oh, that works. Okay. Just making sure it works. Cool. All right. Any questions on the movie? I'll try to answer. Any questions on upcoming content? Anything like that? And we'll kind of wrap it up here. Thanks for so many of all. My tongue is starting to get tired now. Thank you to so many of y'all for coming out and enjoying the movie too. No, Wayne is Genghis Khan. So awful. You have to watch it. It's a rough one. It's a rough one. Let's see. Nighttime cricket sound. Yeah, cool, cool. Like I said, I'll ask tomorrow and see if you guys want like fire sounds, rain sounds, or like, yeah, cricket sounds. I work right next to White Sands Missile Range all the time, seeing jets dogfighting there. Oh, wow, like training. Oh, wow. Well, hopefully you have some radiation protection gear, Nick Citron. Let's see. The movie. Okay, got that. I think I'm caught up, guys. Crickets, battlefield, and New York City traffic noises for the sleep episodes. I was thinking like crickets or like a campfire sound. 220 people developed cancer after being in the Conqueror. What? That's absolutely. That's insane. 220 people. Okay, I'm gonna look at that after we get done here. Just add a bunch of really random sound effects. Yeah, like Jerry Lewis or something like wop 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 wop. Kookaburra. 46 passed away. Wow. What's a kookaburra again? Oh, that's the Australian bird, right? Or the New Zealand bird. Google Moab, Utah, Comancheros radiation. That's too long to write down, so I'm going to screenshot it real quick. Got it. That's terrible. John Wayne was known to have smoked over 100 cigarettes a day. For sure. And if he had passed away of lung cancer, I would get it. But yeah, stomach cancer. I don't know. I'm looking forward to the sleep sounds. Cool, James Holbrook. I would have never thought of it, but I've gotten a lot of requests and comments and emails for just like, I fall asleep to this show. Can you put it to like a sleep track? I was like, oh yeah, for sure. We can figure that'd be a good extra Christmas present. Don't count it as an episode. Don't worry. It's not like going to count as an actual episode. It's just something we'll put in there for people to enjoy and to use if you want. My mom smoked at least 100 cigarettes a day. That's a lot of cigs, though. I don't know if I could do that. I don't smoke cigarettes, but it seems like, But it doesn't mean that there's lots of people that do that and they survive just fine. So if he got exposed to radiation, his smoking probably didn't help. Fair point, though. It wouldn't help. Also, he liked his booze. Sure. And he wasn't like a lush, but yes, smoking and booze was like a popular thing in all of history, but particularly 50s and 60s. Dan Robertson says, good night, HOKC Corral. Thanks for hosting another wonderful night of activities and fueling our future with knowledge of our past. Yeah, thank you very much for coming out, Dan Robertson. It wouldn't be the same without you. Same thing for all of y'all. Really appreciate everybody showing up. It would just be a random crazy guy talking to himself otherwise. Let's see. That's a lot. I smoke cigars, 10 cigs a day. Yeah, I've tried cigars. I've had a cigarette here and there, but like I would try it and like be like, I don't like do one and be like, this isn't for me, man. This isn't for me. They make me anxious. Like even cigars, like it tastes good to me, but it makes me anxious. But I don't know. It looks cool enough where I'll endure that if I have to. Fun hanging out and thanks for the stories. Thank you, Grim Reaper. Thanks, man. You've been a big part of the chat. Really appreciate that. I enjoyed the commentary, says James Holbrook. Man, well, thank you, dude, because you really helped the commentary. You really contributed your knowledge. So I really appreciate that. It's a very interactive experience for me, trust me, because I learn a lot from you guys. You guys have a lot of knowledge on stuff that I don't. I'm just like a fan of history making a show, so I'm as open to learning as y'all are. I smoke loads and I love it. Right on, Billy Bob Bry. Right on. Let's see. We don't smoke shame here. I'd say that. I enjoyed the comment. Okay, got that. Got that. HOKC MK Ultra subliminal message episodes. Yes, actually, not a bad idea, right? Just sneak in little advertisements for like HEB or something. I'll put little activation codes in there. I didn't even like smoking flower. Smoking is so gross to me. However, when they banned smoking in bars, that pissed me off. Actually, Space Cowboy, I agree with you. Yeah, I was like, that's kind of lame. And I would go to some clubs, like private clubs. Not, it's just like how you had to sell liquor in that county in Texas. I played like some gigs at places in Stephenville and stuff. And yeah, you could still smoke inside the bar. And I was like, that just seemed more free to me. It had that smell and everything. And like, yeah, I don't smoke, but it just seemed like, yeah, it seemed appropriate. Dan Robertson, a pint of Bluebell on the corral. Well, thank you very much, Dan Robertson. Dude, thank y'all so much for the super chat. That just helps me out so much. So thank you very much. Bluebell, I'm going to go, we'll spend that on praline pecan. I'm a chocolate guy generally, but I love praline pecan, man. Smoke and bars are like PB and jelly, says Nick Citron. Yes, I feel like our country has deteriorated since we took cigarettes out of bars. Like I said, I'm not telling anybody to do that. I don't do that, but it's just a matter of principle. But thank God there's no smoking on planes and in restaurants. I kind of agree with that. I remember being a little kid and they had smoking in non-smoking sections, like at Sizzler. And even then I was like, does it really make a point if they're smoking across the room and we're in the non-smoking section, you know? Planes is wild, says Nick Citron. It is wild, bro. Like that's blows my little millennial mind. If you're going to drink, you don't mind the smoke anyways. We just started staying home. Yeah, it was a vibe for sure. It was an ambiance that I don't know. It wouldn't hurt him to bring it back. My dad, 3 packs a day, says James Holbrooks. Man, I just don't have the constitution for that. Did you ever try the Dubai chocolate? Okay, so here's the update on that. I got the pistachio cream and it was the wrong kind of pistachio cream. So I reordered this other pistachio cream and then I have the noodles and I have to fry these noodles, kanefa it's called, and then mix it together. So now I have to get a pastry. It keeps adding more steps, but it's going to be worth it because that pistachio cream, it was the wrong kind, but it tasted really good. So we got to get that, mix it together. I got to pipe it into these cupcakes, but I can do it now. I have the plan in place. I'm waiting for the extra pistachio cream to come in, and then we should be good. Because other than that, it's just chocolate cupcakes. I can do it. I've never made chocolate cupcakes in my life, but I can do it. And the pistachio cream is going to be really. It's like Nutella kind of, but you don't taste any pistachio till the very end, and then you're like, well, that's a lot of pistachio. So it's really good. I'm looking forward to it. But they really do fry. They like fry up this Middle Eastern noodle, kanefa, and then mix it in there. So it's supposed to be like crunchy. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'll try and do that. It's just been super busy, but I'll try to do that before Christmas, let's say, because I'm getting the merch together and doing the streams and then doing the episodes. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying the math of the time has thrown me off a little bit. But trust me, dude, like that's going to get done. Like I'm not going to not make Dubai cupcakes and sawdust cake. That's pretty awesome. Hard man. My dad passed away at 76 from cancer. He smoked a bunch his whole life. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, it's doesn't mean the smoke can cause it. I know that there's like a lot of people that get it and they didn't smoke. So I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's always tough. Let's see. I love this channel. I really do, says James Holbrook. Man, thank you very much. I'm humbled by people coming out for it. So I really appreciate that. I think Japan still allows smoking on planes. Really? It's an expensive habit, says Nick Citron. There's no such thing as a cheap habit, though. Let's see. If you're going to, okay, I got that. Okay, I might be caught up here. Everyone smoked in my day, says Billy Bob Bry. It seems like it's coming back, though. I feel like it's coming back. Maybe I'm just in Austin, so I see hipsters smoking all the time. But salt and vinegar pistachios are bomb? I've never heard of that. Okay. James Holbrook says, I enjoyed smoking flower back in the 80s. I've got some partiers in here. It's very expensive in California. The state is trying to price tobacco out of existence with regular tax increases. A can of chew or pack is now $11. That's crazy. That's wild. $11. And I'm from California, and every time I go home, I'm just blown away by how much everything costs. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to get caught up here. We're going to start wrapping it up, guys, so I can get tomorrow's show lined up and this episode for this week and all that stuff that has to get done. This is a good movie, though. I thought that was a great time tonight. So thank y'all. I really appreciate y'all coming out. Okay. And then, like I said, there won't be I hate to say there won't be a coffee chat, but yeah, I have to do the 11 o'clock. Okay. I'll try and post at noon if I'll be able to do a coffee chat. It'll have to be like 12:30 or 1. But if I'm able to, if I can make it home and get everything set up, then I'll post a notification for you guys to let you know I'm going to hop on and do it. If I'm not able to do it, we will for sure be back for our 7 p.m. live stream. Or no, I'm sorry, it's 7 p.m. for me. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific live stream. We'll be back tomorrow for sure. Let's see. I got some chats coming in. Okay. I think y'all are talking to each other, so we should be okay. I love the inter-chat interaction, though. That's so cool. That's we're building a community here. The HOKC Nation. Is that going to work? HOKC family. We'll figure it out. We'll keep testing names. Okay. I think we're all caught up. So thank y'all again for coming out. This is a blast. I have a really good time doing this. I really like the movie night concept. Let's see. If you have any other suggestions, email me, hit me up in the comments about a movie suggestion. And same thing is on the table. So anybody that puts down a $50 donation, you can pick the movie that's for that week. First come, first serve. So Nick Sweeney picked this. Nick Sweeney sponsored this movie night. So thank you again to Nick Sweeney, even though unfortunately he couldn't make it. Thank you to Terry R for the pick. We really appreciate that. We appreciate all y'all's input and contributions and your knowledge and everything. So really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. And make sure you're tuning in tomorrow. Stay tuned. We got shorts coming out. I think we have another short coming out this evening and tomorrow as well. Episode on Tuesday, live streams every day, coffee chats every day except for tomorrow. And am I forgetting anything? I'll just stay tuned. We got the book coming up, the merch coming up, and a bunch of exciting stuff coming up. So thank y'all again for all y'all support. Really, really, really appreciate it. And this is a blast. So couldn't ask for anything better. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. And we will see you tomorrow. All right, God bless, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.